got no gigs this morning. I figured everybody would be just sitting around bored. That's why I thought, oh, I should go live and talk to my all my real friends. You guys hear me okay? Hey, Gary, I know you. I see one. It's weird. I wonder if I can turn up my mic. Check one, two. Oh, okay. You can hear me. Okay, good. Okay. Nobody's telling me. Everybody's saying, yeah, I can hear you, Tom, but you got to type it, man. Could be a little louder. Okay, let me see what I can do there. And I might be accidentally going through like some effects. No, I don't want that. I want audio. One, great. I don't want to put reverb on it. Can you guys hear that? Is that any better? Oh yeah. See, I used to do a lot of. I used to. What was the best paying night of the year playing on New Year's Eve? Like I used to play with this big band, and normally the gigs would be like $50, and those gigs would be like the New Year's Eve gigs would be like $250, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm rich. What time did you get in from your gig last night, Zach? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, how's that? Is that louder? Check one, two. Yeah, a little bit. Nah, it's a little bit louder, maybe. I wish there was a way I could check that. I mean, I can see the little meter here. I can't hear it. Oh, okay. Now you can't hear me. Um, oh, wait. Let's see. Um, Weird. Okay, that's on. Check one, two, one, two, one, two. Oh, wait. 3:30. Dang. Okay. Does it sound better now? Anybody, or can you not hear me? Is that better? One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Nope. Okay. And I'm coming in on this mic. Okay. All right. Cool. I mean, this is a great mic, but if I don't have it hooked up right, it's not going to work. It's going to be lame. And see, I'm not even sure if I have to go through um, Logic for that. I mean, I see it coming through Logic here. I can even add like a compressor. I could boost it with that a little bit. I could put massive delay on it. I could knock it down 3 octaves and just freak you all out. Check one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. No, I don't know if that's gonna help. Not sure what I'm doing. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, switch it back. Okay. Turn that off. Okay. All right. Well, now it should be okay. I haven't done anything. I went back to where it was. Hey, where's my? Oh, here's my phone. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I have any memorable. One of the things I don't. Well, one thing until just this year we lived in Pasadena, so Pasadena is always crazy on New Year's Eve because of the Rose Parade. People start camping out. Ooh, gosh. See, the parade starts around 8 in the morning on first. People start camping out about 40 hours before that. Oh, I'm soft again. Dang. Um, that would be guitar break if I'm going. Let me just check. So that's definitely affecting it. Okay. Yeah. What did I do? All right. What about that? Check 1 and 2. I may have to. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I had it. My goal is to not get feedback in here. See, I think if I turn on my speakers, check 1 2 1 2. That comes into the room. Check 1 2 2. Nope. Okay. This is the lamest video ever. Oh my gosh. Because I could play guitar and stuff before. So, okay, Zach, what guitar did you play last night? Or did you play multiple guitars? Yeah, see, that's all distorted. Oh, because of this. There we go. All right. So, yeah, so like getting out of Pasadena and getting back to the apartment was often very difficult with, with gigs and everything, especially if I had to cross Colorado Boulevard or something, but it would get pretty crazy. Nice. What kind of music were you doing, Zach? So, everyone, I hope you're having a happy new year. I was watching some fireworks. Did any of you see the Dubai fireworks? Those were crazy. They were doing like, I guess that tall building, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the tallest in the world. And it must be outfitted completely. At least one side of it must be completely outfitted with LED lights on all the windows. Because they were putting on a show with that whole thing going on, and then they were shooting fireworks all the way down, like the building up from the top down. I'm like, holy cow! What is how did they plan to do that? It was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. I watched that one, and it was probably about a 10-minute display. It was pretty amazing. But here I just chilled. I was working last night in my studio, and all of a sudden I hear fireworks, and I'm like, "Oh, what time is it? It's midnight." That's kind of, that's kind of pretty typical for me. In Pasadena, though, it was nice because this morning I slept till like 9, and in Pasadena I would be woken up by helicopters and the blimp flying over and people parking and honking and all that stuff. And then people would be, and then the flyover, they would always have the flyover. Oh, nice. Your first original. That's awesome, Gary. Did you do that last night? Oh, yeah. New Year's Eve. Yeah. Acoustic. Zager. Wow. I don't know that guitar. Where is it made? Is it Czech? I'm going to look it up. Yes, my wife and I both went to Butler, but we didn't meet there. I only went 1 year. I did a video a while ago about. In fact, it's my hugely unpopular series. Zach, you've probably watched it. The series I haven't added to in a while though, on the business of making music, where I kind of tell all the secrets that I told. Yeah, we talked about this on the phone. The secrets of the music business, and like stuff I wish I knew at 25 that I didn't learn until I was 45 or 50. And I'm slow. Literally have plans. I could do 70 videos of those. I have 70 more titles and ideas for videos on that series. The only problem is that I'm getting just a few hundred views on them, and I lose subscribers when I post them. Oh, okay. Cool. So he wrote that. So the guy that wrote that, it's his good. He makes guitars now. That's cool. Oh man, I remember that song. That was a huge song back in the 60s. Or was that, yeah, late 70s or early 70s? I mean. Yeah, I'll keep making them for you. I lose like 5 subscribers every time. Here's one of the things. Okay, so here's a YouTube tip for you. Is if you're thinking about doing a YouTube thing. So when I started doing that series, I did the first 10 without posting them because I thought, oh, cool, I'll do like a Netflix thing where I'll post 10 episodes at once, and then you can binge watch them. But instead, what it did was it just clogged up people's feed, their subscription feed, and they just went, I don't want to see all these videos, so they unsubscribed. So I got a bunch of unsubscribes when I did that. So I've learned to not drop. It's even a problem when I do like a jam or like when I do the improvisation things, and I'm going to do another one of those soon, maybe even today. I may record it. But when I do those and then I post a jam track the same day, even having 2 videos drop in the same day, I think some people get turned off by that, by seeing, because some of you have clearly some of you have notifications turned on. And so I've kind of learned not, to even kind of delay it 12 hours or 24 hours just so it doesn't clog your feed. Happy New Year. Do Space Oddity. I don't know Space Oddity. I'm so bad with covers. I'm really bad. I'm so bad at covers. One of the things when I moved to Los Angeles when I was 21, I played in a cover band in Indiana, and back when I was going to Butler, and I vowed to not do cover bands when I got to California. I wanted to only do original music. So, the Digging Deep. Yeah, there's 5 of those. I've got to do some more, but I just realized I was. So when I did the A, like originally, okay, the first one was Digging Deeper into the D chord. Okay, so basically that series is basically me talking about D chord, D sus, and D2, D major 7, D7, D6. I didn't go back and watch them when I made the most recent one, the C one. And I realized in those I did do minor versions. But in the C one, I said, hey, I'm going to do the minors too. And now I realize, oh shoot, I've already done kind of the minors, but I may do digging deeper into minor chords because I may, like I love like A minor. I love this one. I like putting the B on top. A lot of compression. I like the compression. And that would be nothing on the bottom string, open, 7, 5, open, and then 7. But I like that. I like that A minor chord. Seconds are always good. This one's hard. An adult chord would be like E4, like this. Here we go. I almost have to get classical position. You see that? That's an E4 chord. So basically what I did was I took this E triad and take the 5th on the 5th of the chord is on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. All these numbers are so confusing. Take that down a whole step to the 4th. And then, so now you get this half step, but then you want to get this. Carl Verheyen would call this an adult chord. And so that's 0, 0, 5, let's see, no, 0, 7, 6, 2, 0, 0. Yeah. I actually have a series, a little series called Cool Chords. You can check those out. I do. In fact, I taught this one wrong. Okay. So the James Bond chord, I always played like this, which is right. Harmonically, this is correct. Okay. But you have to skip the A string. And so never even occurred to me to move it up a position. And so right now I'm playing open and then nothing on the A string and then 5, 4, 4, 6. And what this is an E minor 9th with a major 7th. See, here's E minor 9th. And And that's the seventh right there. So you go back to major. Okay. Well, you can play it a lot easier. That's kind of hard because of the stretch between the first and second finger. So, but you can actually just play it like this at the seventh fret. So 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, just a countdown. And you can even get that E in there if you want. But I'm sure this is probably how they played it. I have an axiom that pretty much always pans out because the guitar is one of those instruments where you can play a lick multiple ways, because it's not like piano. There's only one way to play a phrase. On the guitar, you could play that same phrase. I don't know. Or you could do right? And I learned as I got better at hearing where players, when I was transcribing solos and stuff for students, I got better at hearing where on the fretboard they were playing, by the tone of the string or by what note they were going to or coming from, things like that. And over time, I realized 99% of the time, it's the easiest way. So whatever's the easiest way to play a certain lick, that's the way the guitar player is playing it, because I'm a guitar player and I'll tell you, guitar players are lazy. So it's as far as tremolo versus, and I'm going to go back to the Butler story I was going to tell you, but I don't have a tremolo on an acoustic, so I can't do it on acoustic. The thing with the finger vibrato is you can only go higher. You can't get lower. The nice thing about the tremolo is you're going lower and higher. So you get this more around the note kind of thing going on. It's like when you use a slide, you can do that. You can go above and below it. So I really like the tremolo kind of can pseudo replicate the tremolo. The tremolo arm can pseudo replicate. Not really. It sounds very different, but it can kind of go down and above and all that. So we got a lot of bored people here today on New Year's. I know, it's like, what do you do on New Year's Day? It's like, it's not like you can open presents, right? You're not like going and getting your stocking. It's like, yeah, I went to Starbucks. There were people there. They were just hanging around. So, it was like, okay, it's kind of like a day off, but everything's closed. So normally when you have a day off, you can go shopping or whatever, but watch college football. Yeah, not really. It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, if I watch football, it's NFL, and even that's just kind of I don't know. My teams are so bad right now, so I can't really get into NFL. But I'll tell you, completely non-guitar related. When I had kids, I used to be really, really into sports, like baseball and football and basketball and all that. Not hockey so much; just don't understand it. And then once I had you're in Pasadena right now, or no? Oh, the Badger. Yeah, that's right, because Wisconsin is in the Rose Bowl. Yeah, you can always tell when Wisconsin is in the Rose Bowl. Everybody shows up in shorts. It's 40 degrees out, and everybody's wearing shorts. I'm like, oh, they must be from Wisconsin, because Minnesota never made. Oh, wait a minute, Minnesota. Wait, Badger is Minnesota. Wait a minute, who's in the Rose Bowl? See, this is how out of it I am. But once I had kids, I just stopped caring about sports so much, because I was like, well, I can't sit there in front of the TV all day watching sports and like pour into my kids' lives at all. So I was a stay-at-home dad. My wife worked and I stayed home. When she got home from work, then that's kind of when I did most of my work. Yeah, Wisconsin. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think Minnesota. When was the last time Minnesota was in the Rose Bowl? It would have been like in the 1800s or something. Yeah, it's always funny though when you see like people from Michigan or Wisconsin or Minnesota coming to Pasadena, in the wintertime. They're walking around in shorts and short sleeve shirts, and you're like, oh, okay. So, hey, Zinko, what's going on? Where are you located? Yeah, this is kind of my pop sound. I was doing some pop writing with this sound. I actually came up with my son, who's a tone monster. He's like really into tone and nuance, and he has amps built for him and guitar. He builds his own guitars and stuff. He actually really likes Amplitude. Now I'm a little torn on it because I thought like with when I got Contact Complete, which Contact Complete, I think it's Native Instruments Complete. Okay, NI Complete, like that. I think it's spelled like that. It was like $1,000, but it comes with so much stuff. It's so cool. And then updates, every couple of years is like a couple $100 to get all the new stuff and everything. So it's really not that bad. Once you drop the coin on a software package, it's not that bad to keep it updated if you really like it, if you use it a lot. If you don't use it, then there's no point. But it has Guitar Rig on it. And I use Guitar Rig all the time. I really like it for TV and film. It's just not even for pop records. I mean, I rarely use real amps. I'm ashamed to admit. I'm actually going to change my setup over here in a little bit. I think we're going to put I don't have any wall hangers over here. If you can see that area. I just got some guitars over there on a stand. And I'm gonna bring in some amps because I have another room full of amps, and the idea was to maybe run cables over there and do some live recording, tracking. Because when you live in an apartment, you just don't crank up amps. But now that we have a house, I can do that all I want. So I'm thinking about bringing an amp in here and having some of my heads here and maybe getting an aux. A friend of mine, James Santiago, invented the aux. And so I'm thinking about picking one of those up. I'm going to check it out again at the NAMM show. I've got a lot of friends that have them. And that way I can run through I've got an old Marshall that's not Plexi, but like 4 serial numbers past Plexi. It's so close. If it had been Plexi, it would have been twice as expensive. And actually, Carl Verheyen helped me pick that one out. We went to Hollywood together, and he helped me pick out that head many, many, many years ago. He probably doesn't even remember doing it. And then I have a 2-rock. I have a Matchless that I like. Well, you've seen them, I think, maybe in some of my videos. But so I will be able to maybe do some direct recording. Okay, back to the Amplitude. So I created this tone on the Amplitude, and I kind of like it. It's pretty good reactive. It's pretty reactive, but I'll be darned if like nothing comes with it. Every time I go to plug in, sorry, I'm kicking my table. Every time I go, when I have an earthquakes here, every time I go to put in a plug-in, like a pedal or something like that, it has a little lock on it and you have to buy it. And I'm like, yeah, I already paid, I don't know, $179, $199 for it. And I thought it would pretty much come with everything, but it didn't even come with hardly any pedals. It's like one delay pedal and one gain pedal, and it's kind of cheesy. I'm not sure if I haven't downloaded everything yet, but some of the stuff is like Dimebag Darrell's pedals. I think there's ZVEX pedals in there, things like that tell me, okay, I have to go and buy. You spend $25 and buy that and get those pedals, and I'm kind of like, I don't like software that wants me to keep buying stuff. Just let me buy it and own it and be done with it. I don't like renting software. Oof, I hate that. But I have to admit, this. I like this. One of the things I like about it is I can really hear where the pick makes contact with the string. So let's see. Hey, Milford, Connecticut. My sister lives in Dayville, Connecticut. Do you know where that is? Just almost to she teaches at Rhode Island School of Design. It's almost on the border of Providence and Connecticut. It's on the right on the border there. Not Providence, Rhode Island. So let's see. Hey, Tom, is there such a thing as wanting to play lead when at best you're going to be able to do is play bass because you can't make your fingers move fast enough? Uh, I mean, slow hand. I don't think you have to play fast to be a good lead player. That's that was my thinking when I was 15 and 16 and 17 and wanted to be the next Al Di Meola. So I think playing, I mean, I don't know how, bass players have to play fast sometimes too. So just playing bass isn't going to preclude you from having to play fast. However, playing fast isn't a prerequisite to playing lead at all. I mean, didn't they call Clapton slow hand? Most blues players aren't insanely fast. And I did do a series a video on how to get faster. And really, speed is a lot of it's muscle memory. Getting one thing fast will translate to the next thing. So you'll be, if you spend a month getting one lick fast, it'll take you 3 weeks to get the next lick fast. And then it'll take you 2 weeks to get the next lick fast, then 1 week, and then pretty soon 4 days and 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. Pretty soon you're getting any lick fast right then and there. And my technique is kind of not geared towards speed anymore. I'm more interested in point of attack. Like I said, I like I'm more interested in the thing that's happening over here and less in here, as long as the note selection is good. I really like anything that allows, the recording to pick up that attack of the pick and the string. That's the moment for me that's really exciting about playing guitar. It's very unique to the guitar too. It's just like the bow with a violinist. I mean, it's that impact, that moment that really is what makes violin a violin. It's so amazing. So that's so I wouldn't worry about playing fast. Fast may come with time too. The more you practice, like I said, the more you learn. Take one lick and get it good, you'll get to the next one. I'm using Amplitude on iPad. I record GarageBand mostly. If you got GarageBand, I would totally. Cubase is great. Native Instruments, do they have a DAW? DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. Logic is great. If you're used to GarageBand, Logic is a very natural progression. In fact, they made when Logic went from $500 to $200, they made it look more like GarageBand, and a lot of us were like, "Oh no!" But they've actually done a great job of keeping it up and making new features. I mean, every time they update, there's some cool stuff in there that I'm like, "Oh wow!" And they don't even tell you; it just shows up. Like one of the most recent updates, it had. What is it? It was so great. See if you can hear this. Software. Hopefully you can still hear me. Mellotrons. I mean, are you kidding me? Let's see if it works. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's really, really cool. So, oh yeah, my oud. I actually, I almost live streamed a couple days ago. I was going to do it. And then I just didn't feel like there was a good time. And I was working on original music with my son's friend's band. And my son's friend, they've been best friends literally since practically the day they were born. I introduced his parents. So I've known him since he was born. And they've been in so many bands together. My son is in a band called Oblio, if you want to look him up, with Blake Oblio, based in California. And so Blake got married and his wife and he are doing a record. So they asked me if I would play on the record. I was like, sure. It would be a lot of fun. And they set up a studio at Hollywood Presbyterian Church, where ultimately they're going to have a really nice studio they're working on, but it's in the process of being built. But they were just kind of set up in a big room. And we did a live session, guitar, two guitars, drums, and I played guitar, but I played oud and lute and mandolin and classical guitar. because they wanted some Renaissance kind of elements to the music. It was bass, and a violinist came in later. So it was really fun, and I got to play. I was going to broadcast live, but because it was somebody else's music and not mine, I didn't feel like I could do that. So, was there a Harry Nilsson reference? Great songwriter. Yeah, BB King totally played. Yeah, and like, what was it? You know, like, I got to go back to the guitar. No. Sorry, wrong. This is what I want. So, that's the thing I was afraid I was going to do with the microphone. Yeah, one trick you could do to BB King would do this. Like a lot of blues players that like, you know, they'll use that little. They'll use the fifth, the seventh, the root, third, and you know, bend that third up a little bit. Maybe get to the major third, but it's a minor third. You get to the major third, it's almost too happy. Kind of go halfway between. It's almost like oud, because in oud, crazy, but in oud they have notation for 54 notes per octave. So I mean, they do this note, this note, this note, this note, that note. You know, it's crazy. We only have 12, so that's 4.5 times as many notes as we have per octave. It's insane. So, but instead of doing the fifth and the seventh, try doing the fifth and the sixth to get kind of a happy blues. And BB King would do that a lot. So, a lot of guys go like that to the seventh, but BB would often go to the sixth. And to me, that's almost like a happy blues. He was always smiling. I like this. I love the sixth to the flat third. Yeah, the oud stuff. There's a great website. Let me pull it up and see if I got the spelling right. I'll send you a link. When I was studying oud, yeah, this is it. So I had one of my composers I worked for gave me like a 3-month warning and said, "Hey, can you play oud?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Can you get one?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "I'll give you 3 months to to learn it." And I go, "Okay." And I did the session. It was for a computer game called Middle Earth 2, I think, or no, not Middle Earth. That'd be Lord of the Rings. It was I can't remember. It was something Earth 2. Anyway, so I show up at the session, and I swear, I think it was a 3-hour session. I probably spent an hour and a half of that time just tuning the stupid thing. Because I got a cheap oud. Fortunately, George Deering, who's a great session guitar player here in LA, does everything. He recommended getting this oud, but he said immediately buy new strings. Don't use the strings that come with it, because they'll be they won't be very good strings. So I did that. I got the oud and a set of strings at the same time. I swapped out the strings, and that was a major. I'd never changed strings on an oud. It was very kind of, for me, complex. Again, it's friction tuners. I hate to leave you guys. It's like if I walk away to get my oud, it's in like my guitar closet. If I go to the other room to get my oud, I'll be like, "Where'd Tom go?" Yeah, it's a Middle Eastern instrument. And so I got, did the gig, did fine. I mean, I eventually kind of figured out what he wanted, and he didn't have a lot of music to do. So it wasn't like I had to do a lot of reading, but boy, the instrument is really cool. So I checked out, so I'm in the process of researching. I really try to be a perpetual college student and learning all the time. And, I found this website, and that I put a link to there, and it's really cool. So with oud, my understanding is, and again, this is not with most oud players that are great, they grew up listening to this music. It's like growing up listening to the blues or listening to classical music or jazz or whatever. You know the language of that music, and so for them, hearing those quadrille and those middle notes and all that stuff, um, a quartal. How do you say that? Quartal. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Though. It's all these middle notes. That's just normal for them. But what they do is the oud is the bottom three strings are in the Egyptian tuning is E, G, and A. So you have 1, 4, 5 right there on the bottom. And I would hit the E. I mean, I'm sorry, the D on the bottom. D, G, A. D, G, A. I would hit the D on the bottom, and then I would play to that, and I could tune to it. Like I could find the D on the string, and then I could go up to E flat if I wanted to do, if it was like. And that's a very Western scale, believe it or not, diatonically compared to most of the oud scales. The oud scales would be like, I mean, it was like, oh, crazy. But their scales are like little 4-note stacks. So it's like their scales are composed of 2 different 4-note, kind of like tetrachords stacks, and then they're not transposable. So you don't learn them like this, whatever the D macam is, you don't learn it in every key. So it's really kind of fascinating. It's worth checking out the website, and you can listen, and they'll play the scale, and you can hear it, and you'll go, wow, that is totally out of tune. But yet when you listen to it, and then they show it in the context of music, and the cool thing is on the website, I think they still have, what are those, RAM files? So I don't know, your browser may not even support it. The browser may go, it's like, what the heck is a RAM file? So that's anyway, that was part of my experience with the oud. And again, it goes back to talking about college. My Butler was a lot of money. It was a very expensive school. And I kind of wasn't doing very well in school because I was so busy working in music already. I mean, by say working in music, I was playing in a top 40 band that was working every Friday and Saturday and rehearsing every Tuesday and Thursday. And I had 40 students. I had 40 half-hour students at a store in Carmel, Indiana. And so I was working so much, I just couldn't do my studies. One of the classes that I totally failed was music history or music appreciation, I think is what it was. It was a mandatory class. Basically, I think I managed to get out of there with a C, but it was a lot of listening. They would do these needle drop tests where they'd take the needle and drop it in the middle of a symphony, and you had to know what symphony it was, what movement it was, what key it was. And I'm like, I don't know. I listened to it once and I don't remember it, that kind of thing. And I was surrounded in my class of 30 people. Everyone in that class they were in the orchestra, and they'd been playing those pieces and those symphonies since they were in junior high. So they knew every one of them. As soon as they dropped the needle, everybody's head went down. They read, and I'm sitting there going, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I don't know. Because I just didn't have time to go to the listening rooms. And the listening rooms were like literally those box turntables, and the headphones. They didn't even have speakers in them. Just headphone. Like the crappy headphones, it's like I felt like I was working at NASA in the 60s. And I'm sitting in this basement at my college and listening to these, records and trying to memorize symphonies, and it just wasn't going to happen. So, I kind of bombed in school, but ultimately I did well in the classes. I was in big band. I had to be in choir. I had to take piano class. Had English, gym, music theory, which I did fine in because the music theory teacher I had in high school for 2 years had just graduated from Butler. So everything he was teaching me was everything he learned. So it was kind of this almost like a rehash of what I did in high school. And I'll tell you an interesting story about gym class. One day I go to gym class. This is 1979. I go to gym class, and there's these trucks out there, and CNN may have been a thing, but it was like ABC, NBC, CBS, like national news trucks at the gym at Hinkle Fieldhouse. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So they were there to film the Indiana Pacers practicing at Hinkle Fieldhouse. And I think this was when they were still ABA, right? In '79, would that be ABA? Or it might be just post merger. I'm sure somebody out there knows. Um, and they were trying out Ann Myers. She was the first woman to try out for the NBA. And so I was just standing there watching. They were filming her, shooting. Basically, we're just doing a practice, shooting drills, things like that. And she did fine. At the time, they had a guy, a, a guard named Billy Keller, who was very short and was a great outside shooter. And she was about as tall as him, maybe a little taller than him, but everybody else towered over her. So anyway, that's completely unrelated to guitar. But my point about college and was that it's not for everybody. If you're looking to be in a band, rock band kind of thing, create something new, I suggest art school over music school. I think so many bands met in art school. The Beatles, Talking Heads, Genesis, I think, met in art school. Radiohead met in art school. They were definitely taking classes that were teaching. See, music school, often what we do in music school is we look backwards. One of the things I try to do in my videos is I do look back, but I also like try to give you tools to be able to create and to write. And that's kind of my goal, because that's what I do all day long is I'm creating and writing and coming up with ideas. And a lot of times what I get hired for, even for sessions, like I do all the guitars for the video game Apex Legends. Basically, they send me the track that they've created so far, and they just ask me to add crazy stuff to it. And so I'm just coming up with the craziest sounds I can come up with. And they just love that stuff. So it's all about being creative and getting in that headspace, which a lot of times is different than a lot of guitar players, a lot of musicians in general are looking to replicate something that already exists, whether it be classical music or bebop or whatever. And I still want to do that. But if you want to be an artist, if you want to be the next Beatles or the next Radiohead, well, no one's going to be the next Beatles. We can have that discussion. But if you want to be the next Radiohead or the next whatever cutting edge band, art school is where you're going to meet people that are trying to create something that's never been done before, I think. So that's kind of my take on it, on music school. It's one thing if you're going to go to USC or even Berkeley and Boston. My nephew's there. You'll come out of Berkeley. I mean, I know a lot of guys here in LA. They have quite a fraternity of people they went to Berkeley with, and so they come out here and they kind of work together on that. So that's right. Baroque musicians definitely improvise. So the Berkeley clan, they would kind of hang out here in LA. And then, there'd also be North Texas State and University of Miami and USC. And those are the main schools for LA session guys if they went anywhere. I think Andrew Sinowak, who's a big session guy, went to University of Miami. My friend Russ Miller, he went to University of Miami. He's a drummer. And then a lot of guys, they just came out. They didn't, school wasn't necessary. So that's exactly what I say. I always say it's not who you know, it's who knows you. It's who calls you first. I'd be happy to be fifth call for every composer in town. But in fact, a friend of mine posted a picture of some of the guys in town, all playing 12 LA session guys, all with banjos. And they were working on the new, I don't know what movie it was for, but it was John Powell, the composer John Powell. And he said, yeah, he told me, I talked to him on the phone. He said, yeah, it's my friend Joe DeBlasi. And he said, yeah, we did 12 mandolins on a different day. And that's crazy. But it was funny because it was almost a who's who of LA session players. And I was kind of bummed that I never quite made it in that group. I do plenty of work, but it's not in the upper echelon of the LA session scene. So, but it was pretty fun to hear the stories about it and all these. I mean, it was funny to see Paul Jackson with a 12-string banjo. So Paul Jackson Jr., who's a great guitar player, played with the Leno band. Remember when Leno had his band? He was the guitar player in that. And Paul Jackson's got a million record credits, including all the Michael Jackson records. So, yeah, I'll check out those players too. Oh, Annie McKee is great. Yeah, I mean that whole thing, the fingerstyle stuff, the hitting the guitar, all that. I mean, I would love to be able to do that kind of stuff, but I just, it's just another skill set that I think I've been asked once in a session to say, hey, can you do something like that? And I pieced together something for them that they wanted it was for a movie. And, but I rarely ever get called to do that. I just ordered last night, year-end purchase, not expensive, but I just ordered a balalaika. I don't have a balalaika. And so I was doing a little research on that, and I just got a cheap one. It should probably do the trick for most scenarios. But that's the kind of thing where, hey, I can play a little bit if I can play a little bit of balalaika and I can read on it and somebody can send me some music, that'll generate work for me. So those are the kind of things I like try to do, is have as many weird little instruments. Acoustic electric Taylors. What would be a great quality? I mean, I'm a big Strat guy. I just think Strats are very, they're versatile. And this one's got, you can see the rails on it. So this one's really hot. My main Strat is I don't usually have it out, but my main Strat is has noiseless single coils. The only thing with a Fender guitar Strat is the radius is going to be a little bit more work. Like bending is going to be tougher. I always find that when I go from a Strat to a Les Paul that I tend to bend a little sharp because of the flatter radius. It's a little bit easier to bend. So I got to remember, I'm playing a Les Paul. I got to back off the bends a little bit. But yeah. Oh, thank you, Chad. But I definitely think Strats are a good way to go. I am going to the NAMM show. I may do some capture of it. I don't think I'll do live. The problem with going live is it just wears out my battery on my phone, and I need to have my phone working the whole day. So I will probably do some capturing and create a video of some. I may do. I don't know. I love I call them anomalies. There's the funny, weird things that show up at NAMM, like the weird guitars and the weird people and the weird whatever. That's always fun to show. But when I have a meeting with Fender and we're going to talk about maybe something I can do for them, I don't know if I'll be doing a video or two for them on their website or if they're going to give me some product or something to do. But what I'm really interested in doing, because most of my subscribers are beginners or new guitar players, fairly, beginner to intermediate. I would like to maybe try to do some reviews of guitars that are affordable. It's one thing to have the latest $2,000 Strat, and that's great. Of course, it's going to play great. But what about some of the cheaper instruments? What the Mexican Strats, or even the Indonesian, or the Korean, or the Chinese, or the Indian ones? Me, I love cheap guitars. I have a million of them, but mainly so I can use weird tunings. Although the thing is that track I did for Bieber that got leaked, it's not on the record. Let me see if I can find it here. Hold on. That was on my Squier. That was on my $99 Squier Strat. I love the sound of it, and you put some compression on it, it just gets really spanky, and I love the lo-fi sound of cheap pickups. One of my favorite guitars to use is the Harmony Bobcat, which has those foil pickups. That's a 60s. I think I paid like $350 for that. It doesn't play great. It's not like a shredder guitar, but it has a certain vibe to it that what was that song called? Don't go far. Yeah. So I hate to show you this, but I think I've got, so I put the link there. Again, that song got leaked. It didn't make the album, and it got leaked, which is a bummer, because I think that song, because of the girl that wrote the top line, she's got a lot of hits. That song could have ended up somewhere, but now that it got leaked, The problem is no major artist is going to want to cover that song because they're going to go, well, Justin turned it down, you know. So I'm a little bummed when songs I wrote get leaked before they get released. But and I've been people have been asking me to do a tutorial on that, and that's another dilemma because um, do I get any royalties for the music I play for my clients? Well, that song I wrote, so I would definitely make royalties. I mean, I wrote the guitar hook on it. And like I said, somebody asked me to do a tutorial on it, but it's this. I mean, it's not hard. It's not impossible to figure out. It's a little weird, but my problem is that I don't want anybody to kind of steal the vibe and then release it with another artist. They can't really do that. That would be theft, and I could, that wouldn't fly. Although people have copied my playing on other songs, and people send them to me, and they go, "This guy totally ripped off Home to Mama," and I listened to it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's this my guitar riff. He just took it right off the record, and I own that. I mean, I have the copyright on it. But the thing was, it wasn't worth my time to deal with it because the guy had like 2 followers on YouTube, and he wasn't a big artist. But yes, so there's a couple things that happen if you play on a record, and it's say you're not writing, you're just playing on it, and it's union. Your name is on that union contract. So I got gel in my hair. When I got the gel out, I had a clump, and it was like, oh, and I tried to get the clump out, and I just went, forget it. So anyway, so when you play on a record and you do it like a union contract, technically what's supposed to happen there is, say the song's a smash, you get paid for 5 years. Well, even if it's not a smash, there is a 5-year payout that the record companies pay a certain amount of money to this fund that gets distributed to people that work on the records. So for 5 years at 100%, 80%, 60%, 40%, 20%, you get a certain amount every year for that record. Now I'm pretty much, Justin hadn't done a record in 5 years, and he's about the only guy I managed to be able to get union pay out of. So if I write on it, I don't bill for my playing. If they hire me to play guitar on something, then I have to bill for the playing. So then I do it through the union. That way they're paying into some pension and things like that. But the more important thing is that, and then if it shows up in a movie, they have to pay you a sideman rate, a minimum sideman rate, which is about $300 for a 3-hour session. I think even you're not working; they're just using the song. So now you're in that. Your song is the song that you played on is in a movie, and now you're on the contract for that movie. And then there's back. So now there's back end on that, or a TV show. So every year on July 1st, people that work in the industry get a check from the secondary market fund. And some people, I mean, I know some people make $250,000 of every July 1st because they've been on so many movies. And so, mainly the way you get on a movie is you're playing in the score. But another way to get on the contract for a movie is to have a song that you played on in the movie. And that only works if it was a union contract to begin with. That's the only way they know how to send you money, because then your name is attached to that contract. And most feature films and most TV shows are still union, network shows especially. Netflix is trying to get around all this. I get money from Netflix. So, for example, so the TV thing, and I talked about this on my video about sidelining. But I don't know if I gave numbers, but the first sideline I ever did was in 2008. I got called to do an episode of Ugly Betty, where I was playing guitar, and an episode with Gene Simmons. And I got to hang out with Gene Simmons, and that was really fun. And we had a common friend, so it was fun to talk about that person. But and I think I made like $300 for the day, maybe $350 for the day. But what I'm getting paid for that $300 is for the first airing on I think it was ABC of that episode. And then when it airs again, you get a little something else. I think it was $60-$70, something like that. But then when it goes into, say, airline use or DVD or cable, streaming, all those other mediums are all secondary market for that format. So essentially 1% of their gross, not net, that's important to attach the gross and not the net. 1% of the gross goes to the musicians union to be distributed among all the musicians that worked on it. On that particular episode, I was working with other musicians there, and there were musicians working on the soundtrack. So it gets split up multiple ways, and on TV it's based on the season. So they take the whole season. They don't go episode by episode. It's the whole season. So I worked on that season, and I was 1% of the musicians that worked on that, whatever. So I probably made $3,000 or $4,000 from that since then in secondary market money. Now it's getting down to every year I get $20, $30 or something like that. But that's kind of the reason why I would do the sidelining gigs, because back in the day I could make more money teaching private lessons than doing a sideline gig. The minimum pay for something like that is $180 for 8 hours, and it's like really, really low pay, but it's the back end that you're doing it for. Recently I got called to do one for Netflix, and they didn't. It's always when you get called for these, it's always a photo audition. So they say, send us a recent photo, and you send them a photo, and they go, no way. And that's all it is. You don't have to go in and audition or anything like that. They basically will ask for 4 guitar players. If they're putting together a band, they'll get pictures of 4 guitar players, 4 drummers, 4 bass players, 4 keyboard players, and the director will look at the pictures and go, him, her, him, whatever. And they put together a band. And it's all based on looks because you're pretending to play. You have to be able to play, but you're not really playing. And so I got that gig, in that kind of scenario. But recently I got called to do one for Netflix, and it didn't pay $180 for the day. It paid $990 for the day, $1,000, but there was no back end. So $1,000 for a day is great pay. But it's a bummer that the streaming companies are trying to basically get rid of all that back end. Okay, and that's the other thing. If that song that I played on and I got paid through the union, if it ended up in a commercial, then they pay me as if I played on the commercial, and I think that's like $140 or something. But the commercials, if they keep running, they keep paying. So you can get I was getting a lot of checks from an IBM commercial I did years ago. For about a year, I was getting checks in the mail all the time, $70, $70 kind of thing. So it was great. So it's tough the union gig thing is really tough. It's kind of it's less and less common now, more and more buyouts. And there's a lot of non-union gigs. I'm a FICOR status member of the union, so I can do non-union work and union work and not get in trouble. I'm just not a voting member of the union. So yeah, there's definitely one of the, and I was going to talk about this in one of my business of making music. And there's musicians union in every city. And you can even set it up so you're doing all your gigs through the union, because the great thing about that is that you are getting paid in pension. You are W-2 employees. So all the taxes are being taken out and all that stuff. So you don't have to worry about that. But the downside is the employer is probably going to have to write, to hire you once, they're going to have to write 3 or 4 checks, which is a drag. And I think that's why most people don't do it. It's like, I'll just pay me $100 for the night rather than, clearing $78 and having them write 4 checks. It just makes, more sense to do that. So first time in 10 years, I learned to play as far as progress, I think, is always best done when you're playing with others. I think when you try to play with a band, and I mean, when I started, when I was in my first band, we were all awful, but boy, you find out really fast what you need to work on. And ultimately, I mean, I think playing guitar, you doesn't mean to have to become a professional musician, but ultimately playing guitar is one of those things where it would be fun to get out and play in front of people. I mean, it's one thing if you just want to be able to play in your home and be able to jam on stuff. That's one thing, but getting out in front of people is really where, for me, fear is a great motivator. If I'm totally afraid of making a fool of myself, I'm going to do the work, and I think that's the hard part, is getting motivated to do the work. The other thing is taking lessons. If you can find a local store and find a teacher that teaches and that you resonate with. I mean, that's part of the reason why I think I have as many subscribers as I have, is because I connect with you. I really try to connect with you, and I try to just make this totally chill. And it's like we're just hanging out doing a lesson. And that's what you want to find. You want to find someone that you really like. Um, yeah, the IMDb. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff up there. I keep it updated. It's pretty crazy. But if you want to see a real IMDb, I mean, I have a lot up there. But check out George Deering. Oh my gosh, George is a friend, but he's about ready to retire. But if you look him up on IMDb, you'll be like, oh my gosh, he's on every movie I've ever seen. He just is so busy. And he's a great guitar player, and he plays all sorts of crazy things. In fact, I went to Claremont yesterday to Folk Music Center in Claremont. Almost did a video from there, but and hoping to find Claremont was a beautiful city, blown away. But I was hoping to find some some new instrument that I didn't have, and they had a bunch of instruments, but they were all kind of like in a museum, and they weren't for sale. So I everything that they had for sale, either I already had one or oh yeah, the Transformers. Yeah, that one's the one that just pays every year. I get money for that every year, and Ninja Turtles, and I also was in Gangster Squad with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Got to spend 5 days just staring at Emma Stone like a creepy old man. But I got to talk to Ryan Gosling, jammed with him. He plays guitar. Josh Brolin was really cool. He grabbed my guitar and we jammed a little bit. He's actually not, Josh Brolin's not a bad guitar player. He's really into Metallica and stuff, so he knew all these Metallica songs. So you too, Jay. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, playing with friends. I mean, that's totally 100%. I mean, that's reward in itself. You know, sitting around a campfire, going to the beach, and bringing your guitar. That's one great reason to have I have a beach acoustic. It's actually a classical guitar. My son has it now, but it's the guitar I would take to the beach, and I didn't worry about it if it got dirty or sandy or somebody kicked sand in it or whatever. I didn't care. So that's a great reason to play guitar. It's a great transportable guitar instrument that you can take wherever you go. I mean, a lot of people are taking up ukulele for that very reason, because you can kind of play a million songs on it, and everybody can sing in it. You can wear it on your back and practically fit in your pocket. But yeah, I didn't find anything at Folk Music Center, so I went ahead and bought a little online last night on Reverb. I bought a balalaika, a small balalaika. So we'll see. It's funny though. I'd never noticed. I never played balalaika before, or I've picked one up before, but I never noticed that. Apparently, the bottom two strings are nylon and the top string steel. So that's kind of unique right there. That's kind of a cool sound. And the bottom two strings are the same note. They're both tuned to E. It's like E, E, A. And I'm like, well, okay, that's odd. But we'll. How do you organize for your first band? Yeah, well, with when you're in junior high, it's fairly easy to know who's playing instruments, and that's kind of so. And it took me a long time. I mean, to be honest, the whole reason I got into the playing, the let me go back to my pop sound. There goes his. The whole reason I got into playing, playing chord melodies, where you put the melody on top of the chord, was because I couldn't find a band. And I said, I couldn't find bandmates. I was so frustrated. So here I am, a 14-year-old kid wanting to be in a band, and I can't find anybody to play with. So I said, well, okay, fine. I'll be my own band. And I really love Joe Pass and stuff. So I basically found, that I can accompany myself and be a one-man band. And so yeah, it's definitely not easy, but you definitely Craigslist would be a place you could find um, people to jam with. If you go to a church, you might be able to do some kind of bulletin board thing. If you've got a place that is a good place to practice, if you can host, you'll probably find people willing to come over and jam. I mean, it could just be one other guitar player, just someone to jam with, preferably someone better than you. And when you play with someone who's better than you, you're going to get better. So I find that that's definitely true in tennis. If I play with someone who's just a beginner in tennis, I play awful. How to send a sample voice cover for your opinion? Oh, to send a sample voice for my opinion. You could send it to tstrahle@gmail.com. So it's a T Strahle, TSTRAHLE. That's the email address associated with this account. I don't know if I have. I'm not a good vocal judge. I'm not that great of a singer myself. So if you saw my last video, you'll know that. I am going to do one vocal song on the record. I still haven't decided how I'm going to record it yet, but I was pleased by doing recording guitar and voice at the same time. I was really blown away how little voice showed up on this mic. So I may do it that way, but I may do it. I may overdub them. I may do the guitar and voice separate. I don't know. Like I said, in the past, anytime I've tried to stand up and sing, I've just never been able to put as good a performance on as if I had a guitar in my hand. I felt like, I think part of that is because the vibrations of the chords hitting my chest helps me pitch and stay in tune. And if I do that with a vocal mic, then I've got two guitars on there because I can't. You have to do it. So, yeah, Jay, what kind of music is it? Pop or rock or? How do you organize? Oh, first band. Okay. Yeah, my first band was definitely. I would say, you know what? They weren't friends. They became friends. My first band. I'm still friends with them. In high school, my first real band, it was a working band. It was funny being in high school, like being a junior in high school and playing at frat parties. I played at frat parties for Indiana University and Purdue University, and I think Wabash, all over Indiana, Evansville University down there. We did a lot of frat parties. It was pretty funny because we were like in high school and kind of opened our eyes a little bit. Oh, okay. Oh, very cool. Yeah, I've been listening. There's been the radio station I listen to here in LA is a great station. It's a college station. And it's, hey, Rohan. They play a lot of Pearl Jam, which is cool. I mean, I remember their first big record. Was that 10? That was an awesome record. Let's see. What else have we got going on? See, guitar in my hand. Any questions about guitar? Oh, I got now. Well, let me go back to the blues sound. I liked it. So this is an amplitude setting that I kind of tweaked a little bit. I don't know how well you can hear that, but like I said, the thing I like about it is that sound of the pick. One thing that you could do just for fun is, so there's a pentatonic, the minor pentatonic for A, and then for D, and then E. So what you want to do is you want to learn the pentatonic shapes that are in the same shape, the position as your one chord. So for example, the A minor pentatonic is here. And then the D minor pentatonic here, instead of playing up here and doing the exact same shape, have it right here. And And then the E minor pentatonic is right here. So they're all right there. And so if you memorize those three, then when you go from the D chord, you go to the E chord. I hear a lot of blues guitar players when they go to the 5 chord, they'll basically, and so what you're doing though, the thing is, don't have to memorize 3. Happy New Year, man. You don't have to memorize 3 solely independent pentatonics, because the D minor pentatonic is the A minor pentatonic, but instead of the E, you go to F. So you go, instead of that note, you go here. So you're only changing 1 note per octave, keep in mind. So it's really, in this scale, you'll change 2 notes. So instead of this, you have that note there. Instead of that E, you have the F. Okay. And so that's common. I don't see many players go to the D minor pentatonic over the D7 chord. A lot of times I'll hear guys stay in the A minor pentatonic. A lot of blues players, but when they get to the 5 chord, they will change. And so that's the same thing. We changed 1 note of the A minor pentatonic to make it a D minor pentatonic. The same thing's true. We change 1 note of the A minor pentatonic and we can make it an E minor pentatonic. And that 1 note is taking all those C's down to B. And the main reason I think that happens is because the C really doesn't work very well in the, it doesn't work well. It's augmented, but it's augmented 5th. So that B definitely works better over the E7 chord. And there's the other. So there's a C here, so you have to take it there. And there's a C there, and we have to take it down to there. So there's in that transition, when we transition from the A minor to the E minor in this position, we will have 3 notes to change, unlike the D minor where we only had 2 notes to change. So going to the E minor. So so my point is, I hear a lot of players, and then I hear a lot of players when they get to that E chord, they hit that B note. They take instead of, and you got that nice bend right there. You got the E. And then back to the A. That's a little trick. Okay, guitar question. Have you by chance looked at all the Journey guitars and collapsible neck guitars in general? I have not. I have not. Did I talk about this last time? I think I talked about traveling with guitars last time. I used to carry 2 guitars with me on airplanes every time I taught clinics. In fact, one of them was this G&L, and the other was a Taylor 814 in a hard case. And I'd walk on the plane with both of those. The travel guitar thing, I've never really gotten into. When I travel now, I don't take a guitar with me unless it's for work. And if it's for work, I usually just now bring 1 guitar. But back in the day when I was doing clinics, it was pre 9/11, and flights weren't as full as they are now. I think airlines had to make a lot of changes in how they organize their flights and stuff after 9/11, because some of the airlines almost went belly up after, the year or 2 after that. It was a great time to fly because everything was so cheap. My family and I flew to Paris for $375 round trip from LA each, so it was like crazy. It was like practically free. But you go to the airport, and in Paris, there were guys with machine guns standing around the airport, and in LA, there were, it was crazy. That was in March, right after 9/11. So it was within 6 months of 9/11. And I've never tried to take 2 guitars on a flight since then, but I somehow managed to always get 2 guitars on a plane when I flew doing clinics for Maranatha back in the 90s. And I did probably 12 trips a year. So it was pretty intense, but I just never seemed to be a problem. Um, have have my first electric guitar arriving soon. Oh, nice. Oh, well, Paul Reed Smith, nice. Uh, but only have an acoustic amp. Yeah, you're probably going to need to buy an. Can you plug an acoustic electric guitar and acoustic amp? Sure, probably. I don't think that's really going to be. I don't know. Anybody know? Was that can't hurt it? It's just not going to sound very good. As far as what amp to get, I used to have this conversation with people. Sometimes they would ask me, "Hey, I have $1,000 to buy a guitar and an amp. What, should I spend?" And you go, "Oh, you spend 800 and get a really, really good, guitar, and then 200 and get a, crappy practice amp, or you could go 500. And I kind of thought about it. The weird thing is that you could have a 59 Les Paul that you paid $500,000 for. And if you're playing through a little PV crappy solid state practice amp, it's probably not going to sound very good. But if you took a $200 Epiphone Les Paul copy and played it through a Plexi Marshall or a Two Rock or a Divided by 13 or a Friedman or so many other great, through some great amp that is nowhere near the price of a 59 Les Paul, it's going to sound massive. So I could definitely see spending more money on an amp. That said, I did. Hey, how's it going, Beat? Hey, Happy New Year from Germany. You got there before us. How's 2020 handled so far there? And India. Yay. I was just talking about my Schwarmendal. Have you seen my Schwarmendal? Let's see if I can find that video. My Tanpura Schwarmendal video. Here we go. I'm not sure how I'm going to find it. Let's see. I have to remember how to spell Schwarmendal. There it is. All right. So let me share this real quick. This thing is really cool. I was just telling someone about this yesterday when I was at Claremont Music or Folk Music Center in Claremont. This guy, whoever makes these, he got it to me from India really, really fast. Anyway, I was talking about amps. I'll tell you, I did a review a while back. I just had that up about the review of the Vox little amp. The Vox little amp was great. Okay, good to know. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I had this little Vox amp that I paid $99 for. I think it came with reverb and a tremolo. It had tremolo on it. And that thing was pretty good. I mean, you're not going to be able to use it at a gig. If you're in a room with a drummer and you've got a little 5-watt amp, it's just going to get lost. But if but for practicing and getting started, sure. But ultimately, you're going to probably want something. I mean, a great amp you can probably find under $1,000 is a Fender Deluxe, like a blackface reissue. That's a workhorse of an amp. You could even at some point buy two and go stereo. You get your delays out there and start going stereo. You'll feel like a god. I think those amps are 23 watts. I can't remember. My son I have one. I have a 70s one that's a silver face. Oh, nice. That's cool. So yeah, but in the meantime, sure, you can definitely plug in the electric, and you don't need an amp at all. And the other thing is you can get your computer. I mean, I'm not using an amp. Sorry, didn't have my hands in there. Yeah, it won't have the same quality of sound, the acoustic amp. But it's definitely, something to use in the short term. And it's definitely, I know it's hard. It's hard to get gear. It's hard to know what to get. I bought stuff that I wish I hadn't bought. I've spent a lot of money on things that I was like, oh, later. That I did a video a while back in my business of making music about creating wish lists. And I suggest that because it will serve a couple purposes. One thing, it'll help you start to knock off things that you really need. And by wish list, at first it could be something, it could be more of a need list. Eventually it becomes a want list. Once you have everything you need, now it's just a matter of, oh, okay, I need an electric guitar. Okay, I got a Les Paul. Now I want a 335. Now I need a Strat. Okay, now I want a Tele. That kind of thing. It'll also, if it's on a list, eventually you'll go, oh, as time goes by and you don't get stuff, like you may have something on there that you go, oh, I'm so glad I didn't buy that. I think I had a Guild 12 string on there for the longest time. And then when I got my Taylor 12 string, I was like, okay, the Guild 12 string goes away, and I'm glad I didn't get it because this thing, my Taylor 12 string plays like butter, which is great when you're having to play 12 string at a session and you've got it in your hands for 2 hours and your fingers are dying. They would be falling off if I was playing a Martin or a Guild, but on a Taylor, they play great. So you're welcome, Murray. But the other thing too is it'll be encouraging because as you go through the years and you look at your wish list and go, oh, I got that and I got that. Oh, I got that thing. Oh, I don't need that anymore. Why did I have that on there? It serves as a kind of a marking thing to mark time and to mark what how you've changed as a musician and how your direction's changed. And I find that for me, I remember someone trying to get me to be a Amway salesman, right? It was like 30 years ago. And he was like, you have so many friends and you are so, you're so happy and you talk to anybody, you talk to strangers and you'd be great. Amway, you'd make so much money. And I inadvertently came up with the perfect argument against it. I said, that's what I'm afraid of. And he goes, what are you afraid of? I said, I'm afraid I'd make too much money. And he goes, no, that's a good thing. I said, no, if I made too much money selling Amway, that's what I would do. And I would stop playing guitar. And I don't want to stop playing guitar. This is my passion. But I often, because I'm a practical human being, if the money is over here, I'm going to go over there. Well, that's kind of what you do with your music careers. I'm still in music. And it's something like if I find that, here's one thing I did that didn't pan out. Like I wanted to be that session guy like Tim Pierce. You see him surrounded by his amps, right? Now I may do that. Like I said, I'm going to change my room a little bit and bring some amps in here maybe next year and start doing some recording with real amps instead of digital stuff. But I don't get a lot of record calls like that. To be honest, I don't think you can tell the difference. In some ways, I think it sounds better to use the digital amps than a real amp because there's too many places where you can screw up recording a real amp. Between the mic and the placement in the room and the cables and the preamps and all the stuff, the signal path to mic a real amp versus the signal path to mic a real amp is this long. The signal path to use a digital amp is that long. So there's a lot less room for error, and I'm not a great engineer. So, that saves me. So I may get that set up, but I may not use it that much. But that being said, I always wanted to be that guy that got called and I'll show up with, 5, 6, 7, 8 heads and a couple cabinets and switching system and all that. And so I started to procure those heads. Like I said early in this stream I went to Hollywood with Carl Verheyen and he helped me pick out a Marshall head back in it would have been late 80s, maybe early 90s. And that was, one of the first of many that I thought I would be that guy. And I never became that guy. So that was a bunch of money I spent over here that didn't really pay off. And then the thing that I did for, and still I'm doing, where I'm trying to learn a new instrument every year, or just acquire a different instrument every year, like a ukulele or mandolin or banjo or oud or lute. This year was lute, dobro, I just ordered a balalaika, like I said. So that's kind of one of those things where I'm trying to add to my arsenal, um, because it gives me, for a lot of the film composers that I work for, they love to have those options. Charango, the Gustavo Santaolalla, who's a great composer who did the movie for Babel, he plays charango. So as soon as he did that, I went out and got a charango because um, I knew that I would get a lot of calls to get that sound. The thing I'm working on right now is the girl that I can't think of her name, the girl that did Chernobyl and the Joker, and she won the Emmy for Chernobyl for composing, and she will probably win the Oscar for best composer for the Joker. She is on fire right now, and her thing is just these amazing sounds that she gets. And she's a cellist, and she plays electric cello too. And so I've got my I experiment. I've got my bow, see, and I've got my guitars with weird strings, and I'm always working on weird effects. Like I said, that's one of the things I get hired to do by a lot of my composers, is to make noise and to create sonic landscapes that don't sound like synthesizers, and I'm really good at that. So again, so when I can expend, when I see that I've got monetary gain in that field, in that area, then I'll spend more money in that area, and I think that's true of any smart business. You will plan your expenditures based on what you can get back out of it. So that's her. Yeah, she's great. Hilda. She's from Iceland and from Reykjavik, and I would love to work for her. I think she lives in Germany, and she's got I'm sure she's got a team. It's unlikely I would ever work for her, but it would be an honor to work with her. Yeah, she's amazing. She's really smart too. I've been watching some interviews with her, and she just can. She's really got a very artistic sense of composing, and she's in a very enviable position right now, because there are very few composers that are kind of allowed to do their thing and not have to take too much into consideration the picture. Because keep in mind, scoring is all scoring to picture, is writing music to picture and to supporting the picture. And she's she's doing that. She's definitely supporting what's going on, but she's being an artist at the same time, which is really cool. Austin Wintry, who I work for, is really good at that. He's great at supporting what's going on in the screener, in the case he does a lot of games, but also being very artistic in that sphere. And that's really awesome when you can do that. John Curigliano, who teaches at what's the music school in New York City? What is that? He teaches there, Juilliard, and he's done some great scores where, like, the Red Violin. He did the Red Violin, which, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a really interesting movie, complex. You might want to make sure that when you sit down to watch the Red Violin, that your phone is in the other room, that you get no distractions, because there's 3 different timelines being represented at the same time. But when John Curigliano scored the music for that, he scored the music sans picture. He didn't do it to picture. He scored the music, and then they made the movie work around it. And a lot of that was because there was a lot of violin playing, because the movie's called Red Violin. So a lot of violin playing. So he had to write that music so that they could pretend to play it on screen. So all that music had to be written before the movie was made. But even the score, he did that. He did it away from actually seeing the picture. So he was given that. He's got as a classical composer, he had such credibility. He was able to do it that way. So that's very rare in Hollywood. Anybody have any favorite scores that you can think of? We just finished The Mandalorian last night, and what's his name? He's Gustav. What's his? The Red Violin. Yeah, isn't it great? It's trippy to follow. So the Red Violin, the way they cut the film is there's basically 3 stories. there's the making of the red violin 500 years ago or 400 years ago. There's the video, the movie that is the traveling, how that red violin got around for 400 years and who it ended up in, how it ended up in all these different people's hands and that story. And then there's the present day auction of that violin. And so what they do, instead of telling those three stories in order, they actually chop it all up and intersperse each other. So one, when you're, going back and he's making the violin, and um, the story of when it's going through time and it's the 1700s and the 1800s and 1900s, you can tell that, and you can tell the present day. It's not like you don't know when you are. It's just a matter of keeping track of all those three storylines at the same time. Yes, Ludwig is great. He started out working with, I think, Teddy Shapiro, and now he won the Oscar last year for Black Panther. He did Black Panther, and I think he won the Oscar for that. He's very good. So he did the score for, and he's a guitar player. He's a very good. So there's a lot of guitar playing in Mandalorian. There's sometimes where I heard some baritone guitar doing some really cool stuff. So it's unlikely I would ever work for him. I would love to. He's another guy I would love to work with. I mean, I work for Steve Jablonsky quite a bit. He Transformers. We just finished a movie called Wonderland that I did a lot of guitar playing on. That is on Netflix. It's the new Mark Wahlberg film. Working on another one called Bloodshot, which is a new superhero series. So hopefully that will turn out to be a big smash. Fellowship of the Ring, yeah, those, that's Harry. Harry Shearer, not Harry Shearer. Who did? Yeah, I know you're going to look it up. Leo's going to look it up. Leo's got IMDb open right now, looking up Fellowship of the Rings. That's a great composer. He's great, and it was awesome because when I was in London with my family, we took a vacation to London in 2014. I got a tour of Abbey Road. Oh my gosh! The manager, the studio manager, she gave me and the boys. Well, you've got a lot of favorite movies. The Witcher. I'll have to check that out. Actually, yeah, Braveheart's great. Clash of the Titans. I remember that. It's a great score. Anyway, so man, I've been talking for a long time. I can't believe you're sticking with me through all this. You guys are crazy. You guys are bored. I'm insulting my viewers. I'm insulting you all. It's like, what are you doing? Let's see. Series coming up. What do I have coming up? Well, I'm going to continue some other series. I'm thinking about doing a series because I've got the Why So Many Guitars Electric Edition and Why So Many Guitars Acoustic Edition. And the ultimate point of all of that is because I do session work, and it's just part of my job to have all these different sounds and abilities and all that. Yeah. Oh, the game Witcher 3 has. Yeah, I'm trying to think what. I've played on a lot of games too. A lot of like Awesome Wintry, and like I said, I did all the guitars so far. We're doing more. We got a ton more to do this year, which is great. For Apex Legend. So if you play Apex Legend, you hear guitar, that's me. So that's a fun game. It's free too. Oh, interesting. Okay. I did do some traditional medieval music for a game. It was for Austin, and what was the game? Dang it. I'm just so bad at going back. Oh, Alabama. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm so glad they're not in the final though, but it's still going to be an SEC team. I just don't care about college football. It's like Alabama should just go and join the NFL. They're year in and year out better than about 5 of the NFL teams every year. Better than my Redskins, that's for sure. So yeah, there's I've got, yeah, there's some stuff coming out this year too. But so Apex Legend, I've got there, I've been told there's a lot more coming, and one of my main jobs in that game is just to create noises and sounds and effects and pads and beds and weird stuff. I do a lot of EBO. So I don't know if you guys know what an EBO is, but I've done a video on this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going back. So the series that I want to do, you guys get me so distracted over here. The series I want to do is I'm thinking of is That's Not a Guitar, and doing like the banjo and the mandolin and the ukulele and the oud and the lute and all these different things, all these different instruments that I play. I don't know that it's going to be really geared towards beginners, but I probably will make points about them. Like ukulele is great for beginners, but all the instruments that I have, the charango, all the instruments that I have that I use for different for the score stuff that I work on, and sometimes I use them in pop music. I've used oud for a rap record on a rap tune once. Basically kind of more doing just like a kind of thing, like a that kind of thing on an oud. But yeah, it's definitely a series that I'm thinking about doing. I think it'll be really, kind of fun. I'll try to make it fun and educational. I'll have to do some research though, because I'm going to want to know the history of the instrument before I start spewing about it. And then I'm going to do more of the instrumental series. I've left off at learning to improvise. So right now, I think I did the minor pentatonic there. I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to do, if I may even do it today, is the major. And I started thinking about it, and I was working on it, and I'm trying to figure out which jam track to play over. Because I've done 4 different jam tracks for those lessons. And the diatonic, oh, sorry. Boom. See, this is what happens when I don't have depth perception. So I'm not sure what jam track is going to work best under that to be the best tool to give an example, but ouch, you had earbuds in. Oh man, I hate that when that happens at church. Somebody unplugs something and you got your earbuds in. Yeah, okay, good. So not a guitar. That's not a guitar, kind of like, hey. And then I will probably do the more digging deeper series. Let's see. Well, and of course, the record project will progress hopefully through this year. Right now I haven't recorded anything officially, although one of the Django tunes that I have, I really, really like. I may just post that one if I can get a good mix of it, rather than replaying it. But it'd be fun to replay. I really like playing that style. It's just not, Sean Tubbs, he doesn't do it anymore on videos. I don't see him doing anymore, but Sean Tubbs is a great guitar player. And he just goes like, oh, I'm going to go start doing gypsy jazz. And then he's like doing these crazy gypsy jazz tunes. So, in fact, it was funny because he and I talked about it for a while. And at some point I was, one of the things I do writing music for TV, I buy libraries, and horn section libraries are the main thing that I need, that I can't get good libraries. And I was looking through this company's catalog, and there was gypsy jazz guitar, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I click on it, and it was all of Sean Tubbs' songs that he wrote. I don't know if he wrote them originally for them or if he sold them to them, but they had chopped them all up. So, okay, yeah, go for it, Leo. And then so that's one of there'll probably be 2 of those kind of gypsy jazz kind of things, and they're not going to be, they'll be a little flashy, but it'll be more about kind of
listening to it and pretending you're at um, a cafe in Paris is kind of what I was going for. And again, it's so being a lead guitar player, soloing guitar player doesn't necessarily mean playing fast. It's really about creating a mood and taking people somewhere. Taking people on a journey. Speed is a tool that you can use to build energy and stuff, but it's not necessary to be a good soloist to be fast. Somebody asked me that way at the beginning of our time together, but um, let's see what else. What other? I think on this computer I have a doc that says, "Oh, I'm going to do this." Um, oh, I know. I want to do a series. I think this one will be really cool, but it requires a lot of research. Um, I want to do a series because so many people really, really like the strumming series. Okay, because that's one of the hardest things, especially on guitar. Where everybody does. Everybody does the same. Okay, now let's play a different song. Okay. Okay, let's play the blues. Okay. Everybody, it's like you get one groove in your hand, and that's, to me, I said the most important thing to learn. The most important thing to learn on electric guitar is all your fretboard. Learn all the notes on the fretboard. I mean, that's just one of many, many important things to learn, but the most important thing. And with playing, if you're an acoustic guitar player, I say the most important thing to learn is strumming grooves or finger picking patterns if you're going to be a finger stylist, but not so that every song is the same pattern or the same groove. You really want to be able to do a bunch of different groups. So I want to do this series, like for example, the first one might be called. I already have an idea for this one. I just need more examples. But John Lennon's favorite strumming groove, Tom Petty's favorite strumming groove, Bob Dylan's favorite strumming groove, and go through the music and find, listening to them and go, okay, this is one that Tom Petty used a lot. Let's learn this one. Here's one. It's a different way because you know me, I won't teach songs because I don't want to get copyright takedowns. Like Rick Beato, who's amazing, one of my favorites. He gets takedown notices all the time. I even joke about it. It's like he posts a video, and then before he even posts it, makes it public, he waits for all the takedown notices. And so that's why he uses live videos now. He'll sample live videos of bands doing songs rather than actually the recording, because the recording will trigger the takedown. And I had a takedown notice on my not a takedown notice. I had a can't monetize notice on my last bluegrass jam track that I did, the 120 beat per minute one. Okay. But I left it up, even though I wasn't making money on it. I'm like, well, I don't care, And it had, the funny thing was, it had a copyright infringement on 2 songs, and one song was from the 50s, and this song didn't have melody. It was just me strumming guitar. I literally recorded it on a Tuesday morning. 2 guitars, did the upright bass, sample, and the drum brushes, sample, and then uploaded it that same day. And they go, oh, no, that's someone else's song. And I'm like, no, it's not, And so I actually disputed with YouTube about it. But the thing I thought was funny was that they listed 2 songs. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If my song sounds like their song, how come they're not disputing each other? So, and so it was like kind of driving me crazy. Well, they actually approved it, which they should have, because I was right. It was something I wrote and recorded that day. It wasn't copy and paste from anything else. In fact, I even did a thing where when I did the loop, because I'm not playing that chord progression for 10 minutes. I play, it's like, 10 minutes, I don't know, at 120, it's going to be a lot of bars. So what I do is I play maybe 48 bars and then copy paste, right? For 10 minutes, so that you can just practice your scales and all that stuff. And some people are saying they're practicing their strumming with it, which is also great. Super easy. I'll put a link here. I'll show you which one I'm talking about. And then I did another guitar, so I do left and right. And that guitar I went like for 64 bars, or Yeah, something like that. Yeah, probably 64 bars, and loop that so that they never really, the loops never, they overlap differently every time. So here, let's see, I'll find it and I'll post a link to it so you can see. Well, now I'm monetized. So now I'm making money. And the reason I did it was stupid. I didn't realize one of my top videos was that, let's see, where is it? Boom, 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 boom. Where did it go? Is it that long ago? What was that? Oh, I didn't realize how long ago it was. Okay, get a shareable link. Okay, it says it's copied to my clipboard. Let's see if it is. So I think that's it. So they allowed me to monetize it. So they literally took the entire 30 days, they said, though. So for 30 days, it wasn't monetized. And so the one I did before was at 100 beats per minute, and this one's at 120. So I'm probably going to do another one at 140 pretty soon. And I think probably part of the problem, because that one was 120, which is a really common progression, I'm probably going to change the bass line a little bit, maybe, so that'll help not trigger it. Trigger any kind of takedown or copyright notice. But anyway, that's so if I do this series on, say, Jack Johnson's favorite groove, which is a really easy one. Not the groove isn't easy, but man, he does every song has the same groove. But I will do like Jack Johnson's favorite groove or strumming pattern. I won't be teaching specific songs. I may play the chords to one of the songs, but the main goal is for you to get the right hand feel of it, to get that. And it came from a friend of mine who's a total Beatle expert, and is a left-hand guitar dealer, and actually has sold guitars to Paul McCartney. At one point, he owned 2 59 left-handed Les Pauls, and one of them ended up in Paul McCartney's hands. He's a friend of mine, and he commented on something I posted about when I did the 6/8 groove, which is the last one I did, the Celtic groove, and he said that was John Lennon's favorite strumming pattern. And I found 2 songs that used it, but that's all in the Beatles catalog that I really found. And I started going through John Lennon's catalog and didn't find that much. So there's a lot of research involved in doing this. But I think ultimately it'll be worth it. But I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get a lot of down thumbs and go, that's not John Lennon's favorite groove. So, but that's the risk I run for putting myself out there, right? I deserve it. Also, I thought about doing a video. I saw RJ, my friend RJ, run Keo, or I don't know how to say his name. He hits me. I think I'll see him at NAMM show. But RJ did a video of posting all his the bad comments, like the mean comments, and I've had some bad ones. A lot of ones I'm going to have to black out. But I understand. I rub people the wrong way, or some people the wrong way. So I'm happy all the time. That bothers a lot of people. Every day is Happy New Year for me, right? So let's see what else. I like to watch all of your videos and see your different pet projects. So interesting. Oh yeah, and I, when I can, I like to post sessions I'm doing and things like that. But I wish I had YouTube growing up, because then I would have a better idea what sessions were like. But sessions are so different back in the 70s, 80s than they are today. Like I've said before, doing a recording session was a team effort, was a group endeavor. If you weren't a good if you couldn't hang out with people and be fun to be around, if you were a Debbie Downer, you were not going to get called. But now you can be a Debbie Downer all day if you want and do session work, because it's all done. It's a solitary endeavor, which is kind of a bummer for me, because I like being around people. It was fun doing that session a couple days ago with my son's friend, working on their record, and it was fun to play music in a room with other musicians again. I mean, I get to play at church every weekend with musicians, great musicians, but I miss that session experience that's so common, or that was so common back in the day, where you had to get everybody together in the same room to play. And now I do all my work from home. So What song did you learn all the way through there, Dick? That's a great name, Dick Flinghammer. Is that really your real name? That's like an awesome name. My first solo I learned all the way through was when I was 16 was Time. Time by who? Is that Pink Floyd? Thank you, Diane. Yeah, I mean, I'm generally happy all the time. I mean, I don't know. I'm not happy all the time. But... Oh, Pink. Oh, interesting. You know, it's funny. The first guitar solo I learned was, I think, it may have been off a Steely Dan record. It may have been off of Katie Lied. There was a solo on that I really wanted to learn. I think it was. I should revisit that because. Oh, Pink Floyd. Oh, okay. Not Pink. Okay, I was going to say that's a weird first guitar solo. Yeah, Pink Floyd makes more sense. I don't. Well, 6'8", 6'4" could be. It just depends. I mean, I don't think there's any real difference. 6'8" is more common than 6'4". But my video is about 6'8", and but 6'4" is definitely could be. Depends on how fast it is. You know, people always what 16. Oh no, 16th notes. Well, if the tempo is 60 beats per minute, then 16th notes aren't that fast. But quarter notes at 280 are really fast. So, you know. Kid Charlemagne was a solo that not only did I learn, I transcribed note for note, and I'm pretty sure I got it really close to right. And I taught to a lot of students. It was one of my favorite guitar solos to teach students. And my son, I taught it to my son Alex, and he still can play it. I've forgotten it now, but he can still play it. But yeah, and also I was really into, and this is kind of before I knew I wanted to be an LA session guitar player or whatever. I was really into Seals and Crofts, and they had a lot of LA session guys on their records. So Edmund Fitzgerald, you get 7 verses to get one right. Yeah. And yeah. Oh, Stairway to Heaven, first guitar solo. Yeah, I taught that to a lot of students. I joked, and somebody commented, I joked, I said in one of my videos that I taught Stairway to Heaven to like 1,000 times, and somebody said, you shouldn't exaggerate. And I went, no, I think I was being pretty literal right there. I think I literally taught Stairway to Heaven to 1,000 students. If I went back in time and counted the number of students I had, at some point they were asking me to teach, every student was asking me to teach them Stairway to Heaven. And that song kept so many guitar teachers alive. I swear to God. Because it wasn't a song you could teach in one lesson either. There's no way to teach Stairway to Heaven in one lesson unless it was an 8-hour lesson. I would probably teach that, and if the kid didn't do his work, you got to go over the first part again. But if the kid did their work, then okay, you can move on to the next section. I think that was a 5 or 6 lessons song. Whereas, like, I could teach Dream On in one lesson. And that was a big one to teach a lot of kids. Smoke on the Water, yeah. Of course, everybody plays it wrong, right? The correct way to play Smoke on the Water is just on the. I mean, how many? It's fun to do. Let's see if we can do that. Fun to do the bass with the chords because you can actually do it on that song. I have a friend, Mike Bradford, who played guitar in Deep Purple. Played bass with him too, but he had to play guitar when I think Steve Morse quit. Let's see. Yeah, I've done that too. Hey, look at this new chord I invented. It's like, yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. But yeah, I mean, when I teach, I really try to. I still haven't gotten that piece of stuff out of my hair yet. I did gel just because and look at my hair. It's a mess. It's like I did that gel that I talk about. That doesn't. It's not sticky. I love it. And there's a link in my YouTube. If you go to my YouTube, you can see the hair gel that I buy. It's there. But I had a clump in my hand when I put it in my hair and went, oh no, that's going to be bugging me all day. I can't get it out. Totally nothing to do with anything. But yeah, I really try to sneak a little bit of theory. I mean, even in the chord diagrams that I put up here, it'll sometimes, I won't do it every time. It's a pain to get all that to line up. It takes me forever to do that because I'm just doing that using Word essentially. So, if an X, open, but the fingerings, like the E chord, I may put, it'll say 0, it'll say the fingerings 0, 2, 3, 1, 0, 0. And then it'll say root, fifth, root, third, fifth, root, the R for root. And it'll say E, B, E, G sharp, E, B, E. I like to have all that in there because I feel like even if you don't see it or you're not memorizing it, by osmosis, you'll start to pick up that those are the names of those notes. Those are the values of those notes. The fingerings, you obviously look at that line. And I put that line first because that's the line that everybody is more in need of at the moment when I'm writing a chord out on the neck. But I do like to give you that information of what note are you playing? What's the value? Is this the third? Is this the fifth, the seventh, whatever? And then what's the letter name of that note? And that goes to my admonition for you to learn your fretboard and learn all the notes on the neck eventually, because I think that helps you. You can if you think you're making up a chord, and you're like, okay, great, that's it, and that's where it ends. But if you go, okay, this is A, this is G, this is C sharp, this is F, this is B. Well, that F is actually E sharp. You could, through theory and through knowledge of your fretboard, know that this is an A9 sharp 5 or A9 augmented. Okay, so starting to see the names of the notes and the numbers of the notes on the fretboard are, a tool that will make you a better musician and able to communicate with others and stuff like that. So, yes, yeah, that's exactly what it was. The dried goop on the. Yeah, sorry, Gary, I'm not very. I understand. I am a blessed man. Yeah, in fact, I told him when I see myself in the mirror now, I go, oh, I look like my grandfather. It's just like his hair was always standing up. And my grandfather was a congressman. I never met him. He died 2 years before I was born, but my mom grew up in DC. Fascinating fact about Tom Straley. And if you didn't know, that's how you pronounce my name, Straley. That's how we pronounce it. The correct pronunciation in German would be Strahl, right? And someone said, hey, someone came and I said, I saw standing next to a German lady in Starbucks. And I said, oh, you're from Germany? She goes, yes. And I go, my name is German. And she goes, oh, what's your name? And I didn't even want to say it. I just took my driver's license out and I handed it to her. And she goes, oh, Strahlemann. And Strahlemann. She goes, you know what a Strahlemann is? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to know. And she goes, no, Strahlemann is a smiling man. And I went, wow, how is that fulfilling? Strahlemann. So, yeah, that's so I am a Strahlemann. And I saw greetings from Germany. I don't know if you're still there. That was a while ago. But you probably go, oh. And the funny thing is I'm not German. My dad's dad was adopted by his stepdad. Yeah, I figured you probably did. Yeah, so long E, Straley is how we say it. So if you're talking about me to others. The other thing is I'm having my daughter design T-shirts. So I can, we're going to do a T-shirt. And so once you hit 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, you can actually sell merchandise, and it's cool because if I have a logo or something, then you can put it on a coffee cup or you can put it on a T-shirt or a sweatshirt or woolly, whatever. And they do one-offs. It's not like I have to buy 500 of them and have them in a closet and then you place an order and I send it to you or anything like that. I don't even have to get involved. I get a little piece of I think you make like $8 or something. And then you pay $24 for a sweatshirt or something like that. But it's the what's I think it's just gonna be me holding a guitar, and it's just gonna say, "Hey there," because apparently, and I didn't know this. I didn't notice I was doing this until recently. I start every video with "Hey there." So it's like this kind of weird little. So we'll see. I don't know. My daughter's doing the design. Remember, she's the one that did the design on. I'm having her do it in this style. My daughter did the design on this, which is really dope. Isn't that cool? It's like what's that Claus guy that did the Beatles. So she might do something like that for it, which I think would be freaking dope. But I don't know if she can make me get my caricature on a shirt doing this style. But I just thought it was really she's really talented. So. Oh, and I got another video series coming up called Weird Capos. So I'm going to do it, not a series, just a one-off that's going to be, because that capo video was pretty popular. I'm going to do another one that's just capo anomalies. Capo anomalies? Cap anomalies? Yeah, isn't that cool, Dick? I love that. Okay, she did a great job on that. So hopefully the shirt will kind of take on a little bit of that spirit, kind of a Beatles vibe. I'm not sure. Kind of like a Revolver kind of cover. That would be cool. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping she gets it done before she goes back to college, so that I can start it. But then I have no idea if I'll sell any of these T-shirts or coffee mugs or whatever. But RJ, did it, and I thought it would be kind of cool to do. And like I said, once you get to 30,000 subscribers, Teespring will do that for you. So I don't have to own any of this stuff. It's just there's an app called Fretboard Learn that's helpful. You play it like somebody asked me a question. Like David Street, Happy New Year to you. Would you know any Jason Isbell songs you would consider doing a lesson of? I generally, like I said, I don't. There's so many people who are willing to do that, and I don't do lessons of songs because I don't want to have takedown notices. Technically, the Fair Use Act really applied more. I think. I mean, it's amazing to me when I want to find a song and I go to YouTube to listen to a song. I'll see someone who's uploaded that song and it has like 60 million views on it. And they're not the copyright owner. They're not the band or the artist or whatever. I'm like, that's not fair and there's an ad. And I'm like, that's not really fair that they're making that money off a song they had nothing to do with. And if it's got 60 million views, that's like, I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 for a million views. So let's say it's 2,000 per million views. That person has 60 million views on a song they didn't write, has made $120,000 from doing that. That's just crazy. So, and that to me, that's nowhere near fair use. Fair use would be the main reason was the colleges need to pay to play music in a classroom, or high schools or whatever, for lessons, to teach something or whatever. And that's fair use. It's covered under that. Now, YouTube kind of is broadcasting. So that's different type of use of the Fair Use Act. And I think I don't know. And I'm fine. I make money from YouTube from this, but also from songs that I have that are on YouTube, like the Bieber songs and stuff like that. It shows up every quarter in my BMI statement. It's not much, but it's a little bit. And so I always try, when I go to listen to a song on YouTube, I really try to go to the verified account. Like if I want to listen to a Beatles song, I know the Beatles have tons of money, but I'd rather they get the money because they actually created that than someone who just happened to upload it, So, yeah, right. I know. I'm sure. I don't know why more people don't. Well, the takedowns happen all the time. I know. Still waiting for the raise the bar. I know. I I know. I wish that song would. I mean, I wish they'd just release it. The new record's coming out soon, I think. Single's coming out in a couple days, but not. I didn't write that one. Um, but the new Bieber record comes out in I don't know when. I wish I knew when. The sooner the better, because at this moment I do have a song on it that I wrote. But the longer it goes, the more chance that songs get taken off. I had 2 songs on there. I Yes, no, I agree, Diane. I think definitely if I'm playing the song, I do agree with that. If it's a cover, and that's the other thing is when you do covers, the writer still makes that money. And I don't know that if someone uploads a song and it's a copyright violation or it's someone else's copyright, that they are getting that money. I don't know that that's the case. And there is 2 kinds of money that YouTube pays. They do pay a royalty, which is based on the ownership of the copyright, and then they pay creators and uploaders for uploading videos. For ad revenue and stuff like that. So you're right. I mean, I think if somebody does a cover of one of my songs that I wrote, I'm fine with that. And because I think that a little bit of money does trickle to me for that. I know that if someone puts a cover of a song of mine on a record, I get money every month from Harry Fox, and sometimes it's 12 cents and sometimes it's $40, and sometimes it's multiple times in a month. And usually, what that means is somebody is doing a cover somewhere on a record of one of my songs. Yeah, finger sync. I call it finger sync. Uh, Guitar lip sync is definitely finger sync, and that's what I do when I do TV stuff. Um, yeah, and it's interesting because I was recently. I write a lot of music for a show for shows that air on Discovery Channel, and Discovery said that as of 2020 they weren't going to pay for music anymore, and it's like, well, they don't have a choice; they have to pay for music. If they air music and it's not theirs 100% owned, then they have to pay. And they've kind of pulled back from their statements. They were saying they were going to redo all their videos, and the reason was they bought the company that owned. A year and a half ago, they bought the company that owned Travel Channel and HGTV and the Food Network, and they use license-free music on all those networks, which means the people that create that music get paid up front, and that's it. Now, that also doesn't mean that they can't sell that to a million other places. So they can make money off of those songs in multiple venues, but they are not getting any back end. There's no royalties. Discovery pays back end. And I get a decent chunk of change from Discovery shows every year. I write music for a show called Street Outlaws, and all of those, all their spinoffs. And they said that they were going to stop it. Well, they don't actually create that show. That show is created by a third party, and it's their number one show. And so they don't really get a say. They can tell the production company to stop using copyrighted music, but they have so much music in their catalog that they make money on. Every dollar I make from Discovery, this production company makes $2, which I'm fine with. Okay. I don't feel ripped off because they're putting my music in a show. And I have very good placement rates. Most library composers, are lucky to get 1% of their music in shows. I'm like batting 500 for the most part. About half of everything I create for this company gets on air because they're specifically asking for something that they need. So then I get paid on the back end. But because they're the boss, they get the publishing, and that's half of the money, and I split it with my co-writer. So the writer share with my co-writer. So let's say a song generates $1, I get 25 cents. My co-writer gets 25 cents, and the production company gets 50 cents. But they have the power to put my music on or not. And I always say in this business, if powerful people are making money off of you, you're going to be fine because they're going to keep you working, and you're going to keep making money and earning. So that's the battle in this, is keeping working. So Thanks, David. Did I answer your question? What was your question, or was it somebody else's question? Yeah, ASCAP up here. I see ASCAP, Fair Use Act, not intent. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, oops. Oh, this is over here. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. No, it's true. But and the thing is with doing the licensing, the one-off thing, they're paying you up front for it, so you're getting money up front. But it's probably on an hourly basis not worth your time. But it's still your track to sell. You can sell to 10 other people. I think. It's not like they may own it, but they just bought it to use unlimited. But anyway, it's Netflix is trying to get composers to work for no back end. Also, I'm not sure how that's going. I know there's been a big outcry against that. They're trying to change the whole system, how it's done. And I know that in LA, it's tough because there are so many composers that will come here and will do something for free just to get the credit. And I was talking to a major movie producer, and I asked him, I said, and I expect the answer to be actor, but I said, what's the job on a movie that has the most applicants? And he said, there's not even a close second, it's composer. He said, anytime they announce that there's a new project out, they get so many submissions from so many capable composers, most you've never heard of, but there's so many kids that have gone to school and spent literally $200,000 to get a degree in film composing. And they were probably taught by someone who maybe scored one major film in their life. Probably not. If they've scored a major film, they're probably still here doing it. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things where I get a little leery of the music school thing, because it's like you're selling a bill of goods that you just can't keep that promise. I mean, if my son is a musician, my oldest son is a musician like me. Took some classes at at the City College of things he wanted to learn, like Pro Tools and music production, things like that he could really use. He ended up practically teaching those classes at the end of the semester. But my other son, Jack, is an engineer, and he's getting his master's at USC, and he's working for NASA. He works for JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs. And that's, if you want to be an engineer, you go to college and you're going to have a job. But with music school, they can't make that promise where they're going to get you a job at the end of graduation. No school says they're going to get you a job, but there are certain degrees where you get a degree and you're going to be working. I mean, it's just, engineering is definitely one of those. I mean, I always give an example with, girl back in the day, they would always say, oh, girls, you need to be a nurse or you need to be a teacher. Right. And, it was, they go, oh, there's a glut of nurses. They need teachers. So by the time all these girls would graduate college in 4 years with a teaching degree, there'd be a glut of teachers and they'd need nurses. And it would always be that, that kind of thing. So there was always tons of need for nurses and teachers, though. That's kind of one of those. My wife's a teacher, and I'm not saying that women have to be teachers or anything of that sort. I'm just telling you what was being told to us in high school back in the day. And the reality that played out because of it. But no one ever said, hey, what you need to do is become a professional guitar player. It's like the last thing anyone would ever say, because it's just like, it's a very, very, very tough business. And it's tough too when people are willing to do your job for free. I mean, no one's going to dig a ditch for free. If you're a plumber, I mean, those skills, you're always going to have work. If you're an electrician, if you're bonded as an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter or car repair or any of those things, car repair is great for recessions because everybody's keeping their cars. You notice when we're in a recession, how old cars get on the road. It's even worse in the Midwest where everything's rusty. And so let's see, very interesting movie team is, it's a very difficult industry to break into, regardless of position. That's very true. Although I do kind of tell people, if you live in LA, get a headshot. Go ahead and send your picture, because I don't care if you're the ugliest person walking the face of the earth. A lot of times, I always watch these shows and I go, oh my gosh, they hired him because he was ugly. It's like, or they hired him because he has tattoos all over his face. He got a gig because of that, you know? And I'm just like, anyone can get those kind of gigs, you know, where you get a role on not a recurring role, but maybe a one-off role on a TV show or commercial or in a movie or whatever. So the movie that I worked on, Wonderland, has Post Malone in it, who I actually know. And he, speaking of people with tattoos on their face, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, but yeah, I think, but it's, acting. I mean, I haven't acted per se. Like I've done the sidelining gigs. And I put myself on the IMDb. I put myself down as actor on those, because that's kind of you're kind of like a glorified extra. Most extras in TV and film, they are not union. However, I don't quote me on these percentages, but I think in a TV show, 10% of extras have to be SAG or AFTRA. And I think in movies, it's something like 30% of extras have to be SAG or AFTRA. And so the extra work is done a lot of times by people who are trying to break in, right? There's no back end on it. You get paid for the day. You get fed, but it's funny because they will have separate food for the extras, and then because I'm union, even though I'm standing in the back pretending to play guitar, I'm not considered an extra. I'm union, so I get to go to where everybody else gets to eat, and I get the good food. It depends on the shoot, it depends on the show or the movie. But sometimes you're getting steak and all sorts. I mean, it's really, really good food. And AFTRA, yeah, AFTRA is correct. Yeah, after SAG AFTRA. So, the extra thing, gosh, I've heard as low as 75 a day and as much as like 120 a day to do it. And, you bring a book. Most of the time you're sitting in a room. They call them being corralled. You're in a corral. It's really almost dehumanizing. It's just like, okay, let's go, time to go. But if they give you, if you're an extra and they give you a line, now, they have to pay you as a union, and they can do that once, I think. But used to hunt. By the end of the season, I couldn't hit a barn, much less a speeding duck. By the end of the season, really, just by thinking about what happened when I started missing Oh, interesting. Interesting. That's an interesting thought. Yeah, I think that's actually that's a really good way to think about it. Hey, One Man's Reality. I buy a few songs, sheet music that I really enjoy. That keeps me motivated. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and lots. I mean, you can get tab too, where you're learning the tab. You can read the tab. It tells you exactly how it was fingered. Let's see. So Bob's Studios. I'm assuming you're a composer, or you write music for TV and film. They yeah, I've been doing it, and I've got some music, and I like a friend of mine had a library he's putting together, and I was helping him out, and I had some music, and I gave it to him. I kind of regret it, because I tried to post one of my classical pieces on YouTube, and it gave me a copyright violation notice on a song that I wrote, performed, and recorded, because he'd already registered it internationally because he was using it for library music, and I made money from it. There was every quarter I was getting like 50 or 60 bucks from some TV show in Korea that was using one of those songs. Okay. So you play drums. So, Bobs, who's some of your favorite drummers on YouTube that you like to watch? I get the great thing about being in LA too. One of the things, we toy about moving out of state, because California is just so anti-business and even the new law that took effect today, almost makes it impossible for me to do my job working for composers, because they want me to hire they want my employers to hire me as an employee rather than freelance contractor. I pay tons of taxes, but apparently I don't pay enough, and they want me to pay into workman's comp and unemployment insurance and all that stuff, because they want my employers to hire me as an employee, a W 2 employee. And sometimes I work for somebody once a year. I just did a movie for a guy I hadn't worked for in 5 years, and I worked for him last month. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not an employee of his. He has no obligation to me other than to pay me for the work I did, and I get paid very well for what I do. But the California is just making it very difficult, and the law was intended to go after Uber and Lyft drivers, but they unfortunately snared musicians. Now there's been a lawsuit filed, so I'm not really expecting. None of my composers said they're going to stop calling me. I don't think it's going to. They're ever going to have to hire me as a W-2 employee, but I declare every single penny I make. So. Oh, funny. Yeah, I hate spell correct. Yeah. Who knows? But even so, with Murray, I see your point. Even if it is upheld, I still don't technically. If someone hires me for 3 hours once a year, there are no. I'm not their employee. That I don't know anybody who would try to make that argument. I know I know you are not a beat producer, but how do you get recognition for your guitar skills and make yourself known? I'd like to set this goal to get myself a role where I can produce and write songs with people. Where can I get started? Well, I definitely am big on collaborating. I did a video on collaborating. If you've watched any of my video series, Lewis, you should definitely check out my series, The Business of Making Music, if you haven't already. Yeah, no, the journalist thing, it's really jacked them up. I saw that Vox had to fire or basically let go a couple hundred journalists, and they could hire back full time, maybe 20 of them, because the law just arbitrarily set 35 articles a year. And it's like some of these people were doing 2 a day. And none of them were, nobody was complaining about not having workman's comp. Nobody was complaining about not having insurance. I have insurance. I pay for it myself. It's yes, 2020 hindsight. I get it, Gary. Oh my goodness. So, the law was very poorly written by a woman who was, president of the union in San Diego, So I understand from a union perspective, they wanted anybody to be unionized, to be able to unionize to protect themselves. But Uber and Lyft drivers, their goal in life is not to be an Uber or Lyft driver. Almost everyone, it's like being a waiter in LA. Every one of them in LA is aspiring to be an actor. Most Uber and Lyft drivers, I can't tell you how many Uber and Lyft drivers, when they find out what I do, they hand me their card with their SoundCloud page link on it. They want to be DJs, or they want to be rap artists, or they want to be actors, or these are not jobs. Here's the thing. I always say, it kind of comes down to the whole minimum wage thing. I always say, thank God my first job paid as little as it did, or I'd still be doing it. If my first job working in a Mexican restaurant, frying chips and burning my hands paid $25 an hour, I'd still be doing that, and I'd be miserable. It's like, no, these are transitional jobs. Leave them alone. Let them be transitional jobs. But in the case of the Uber and Lyft, it was the taxi cab unions and money that they were getting from, they were losing in having people be determined as employees. So I know Uber and Lyft drivers are not interested in being deemed employees, because Uber and Lyft have already said that they're going to totally change everything if that happens. So, who's got a record deal now? I'm sorry, I missed out on something here. Mental Cohen. Michael Cohen. Oh. And Lewis, about starting You know, as far as doing the hooks and loops for you know, doing hooks for pop stuff, that was mainly because I was working with the artists. And I just kind of got known as a guitar player that could do that, and I started sending them to producers that I was working with. And some I wish I hadn't sent, you know, because some producers, you got to make sure that people you trust. Justin's team, I totally trust. So I'm not worried about, and the potential payoff is great on those. But I just collaborating, I think, is a big, big. But collaborating with other writers. Here's another thing, you know, Lewis. One thing I've had to reconcile with is sometimes I think I've written the best hook I've ever written. Like you've been bugging me to show you how to play Raise the Bar. I'll do it with my back to the camera. How's that? No, I wouldn't do that to you. You know, when you write what you really like is a hook, and then it doesn't get used or it gets nullified. And in that case, like, it's not like I can repackage that hook. I can do a variation on it, sure. And no one's going to be able. Very, very few people have heard Raise the Bar except the Bieber fans. But the fact that it didn't get on a record and it got leaked is a bummer, you know, because it's like, oh man, now that hook's gone. The consolation that I really try to use that as energy. My saying is, oh, I'll come up with a better one. And the Star one, the one that got leaked, what's it called? Don't, what's that one? I forget. Don't Be Far or something. I don't know. That was something that was a hook that Star wrote over one of my guitars. Let's see. Don't Go Far. That's what it was. That one was another hook where I was like, dang it, you know, now it's out there. Yes. My number one suggestion for any musician wanting to get better is to join a band. Because I feel like especially with musicians that are better than you play with a band with a good drummer, and you're gonna blow up. Your skills are gonna blow up. But yeah, you know, like, yeah, band is only as good as its drummer. Yeah. That's it. Oh, is the sound not working? I don't know. Yeah, not for nothing. That's right. And so Pooh Bear wrote that over that. It was me and Pooh Bear basically, and then Justin recorded it. No, Pooh Bear recorded it. Justin never recorded that one. And then, but it was for Justin, but it just didn't float his boat. So Pooh Bear got it to Nico and what was it? Who recorded that? But that it wasn't a hit. You know, it didn't bring in any real money. I mean, I get, you know, a few bucks every quarter from it, but that's about it. I know Kermit, I'm trying to figure out, because I don't want to go, you know, like, I don't want to be that guy that goes up and go, you know, on all the YouTube videos and comments, hey, that's my song, or hey, that's me playing guitar. Because the people that are commenting are all just Bieber fans. They're not like producers that can hire me. But it would be nice if somebody, you know, that there was a way to get some recognition for that. The hook, let's see, what was the star, the one that Star wrote doesn't. That's the one I did on the Don't Go Far one, and that was my $99 Squire. That thing just sounds so sick. So let's see. Yeah, Home to Mama, which is I actually. Yeah, that one's super simple little hook, but it's just got that cool, the seconds in there. It ends on the second, so it's just funny. But yeah, it is a little frustrating. I do have at this moment, I do have a song that's supposed to come out on a new Bieber record, but the longer that record takes to come out, the more likely songs get replaced. And it's one that Pooh Bear and I wrote, and Justin wrote on it too. So we'll see, and hey, every song I've had released, I've had 3 songs released by Bieber that I wrote that were officially released. One was that I just happened to come up with a bridge on. So I recorded the guitars on Turn to You? No, it was the one that he did for his mom. Going Down. See, I don't know that one. Did you write Going Down? I don't know that one. Is that another leaked one? It could be. Somebody sent me one the other day. Well, that's how I got Don't Go, or was it? I say it's called. Yeah, Don't Go Far. Somebody texted to me. Is this you? Because they thought it was me, and it sounded like me. And I said, I listened to it. Damn it! It got leaked. Because I was hoping it would land on another record. Because Stara, she's written some big hits and some big artists. I mean, she's got some great credits, and I'm like, that song was really good, but I just don't know that anyone's going to do it now. But let's see, Raise the Bar. Yeah, no, that's what was it? Somebody. Yeah, Going Down is a leaked one. Well, let me look it up. Oh, so this is the moment you're going to see me see it. If it's me, I'm going to be like, dang it. But I think I would know. 1 year ago. It says 1 year ago. Let me see. I think I would have heard this this says 2 years ago. That's just how it's gone down lately. That's just how it's gone down lately. Yes, I'll give you the lowdown, baby. Just take it nice and slow now, baby. No, I don't recognize that one. I don't think that's me. Was Raise the Bar done on the Martin? I think it was done on my Martin D35. I had to see, the thing is, the leaked version isn't. I don't know where that one came from, because Andrew Watt, who's huge now, written so many number ones. But when I was working with him, he was basically a nobody. But he was hanging out he was Cody Simpson's guitar player, and Dan Cantor, who was Justin's guitar player, and me, the 3 of us were working on this record. So we did all the guitars on the record that Cody Simpson and Justin did. It's like a vanity project that never got released. The only song that came out of it was Home to Mama. But on Raise the Bar, Dan came up with a bridge. And because of the way, so I had to go into the studio to play the bridge in the style that I played the rest of the song. But in all the versions I've heard, because the bridge is completely different chords, and it was very complex. In fact, somewhere I've got a video. I don't even remember, but I had to do a video. It's not posted, it's not public. I had to do a video on YouTube and send it to Dan so he could learn it. Now I did, so he could play it live with Justin, because they thought it was coming out. It should have, because it's a really good song. Justin did a great job on the top line. He wrote the top line on that. I mean, that kid is really talented. He's one of those kids that you like never seen a skateboard before. He throws it on the ground. He's doing flips and all sorts of crazy stuff. He does it, sits down at the piano. He starts, noodling. 2 minutes later, he's playing something really cool. He's just one of those kids that just can pick up stuff fast. Yep. But so the version of Raise the Bar that's out there is just that one section. It's just a verse and the chorus. There's no bridge on it. So I don't know how it got leaked and where it got leaked from. And, I know that Justin probably lost a lot of phones in the day, and he always had music on his phone. So that would be a problem. But hopefully it's password protected. I don't know. I mean, what did I say about Bieber that you didn't know? Oh, it's that he's talented. Yeah, I think Justin. I mean, one of Justin's first songs was "Yellow Raincoat," and that was the second song. Turn to You, is that the name of the Mother? I just wrote the bridge on, and then just the chords on the bridge, and then they gave me a percentage. I was shocked. I didn't know I was going to get a percentage. I got paid for the session, and then I got a percentage of the song, and I get money from that all the time, and a little bit of money here and there. Then Yellow Raincoat was a song that Justin and I wrote. It was really one of the first songs he ever wrote, and it was very personal at the time. And we were at Henson. It was a couple days after Christmas. It was like 7 years ago. We were working on the acoustic Believe record, and because Dan got sick, so they called me in to play on one of the Believe record songs, and then I played the hook to Home to Mama or Yellow Raincoat, which was I played it on this guitar, and I played a yeah. Well, that's a drag. The leakers, it's really bad, but it's probably because he's so slow to release records. If he would release the records a little bit quicker, there would be no product for the leakers to leak. But that one, Yellow Raincoat, was one of those times where, and Lewis, this is one of those things where it's tough. I just said, okay, Raise the Bar, that hook is gone. It probably won't ever appear on a record, which really bums me out financially, but just personally, because it was really one of my favorite hooks, and it took a long time to get it down, to make it feel like it feels on a record. When I'm writing a pop hook, I was just talking to a kid yesterday that I work with occasionally, and he's got a publishing deal with a major publisher, and hopefully some stuff coming out with him soon. We've done a couple things, but I was just talking to him about, where I will play something like my pop hooks. I will play, maybe 100 times until I've got it. So it feels like something I've been playing all my life. It feels so natural that I can get all that emotion and feeling through my fingers and into the music. And that's what hopefully that's what's getting. Now, see, it takes me 100 times. I know guys in LA that have played on 1 million #1 hits, and they get it the first time. I'm not one of those guys. I wish I was, but it's really just to try to get it so that you can hear my emotions when I'm lit. And I've been really good at kind of discovering singers and finding singers and helping them get their careers launched and stuff. And one of the things that I want to hear in a singer, and a young kid that's singing, is I want to be able to hear what kind of day they're having on their voice, through their voice. Can you telegraph that to me through all the idiosyncrasies that is your voice? If you get up there and you're a Broadway singer and super trained, I'm not hearing that. The thing that's going to connect through a microphone, from the microphone into the listener's ear with the earbuds, is going to be that personality, that thing where you're connecting with them on an emotional level. And I try to do that with a guitar. Again, it's kind of one of those things of keeping your eyes and ears open in the business and realizing, this is something that really is good for singers. The best singers have that ability. So as a guitar player, I need to have a voice as well. And so that's That's really what I try to do. And exactly. And so, but Lewis, you asked a question, about the hooks and everything. Yes, there were lyrics on the bridge. Yes, there were. Melody making, no. I used to write melodies, but now I'm content. My melodies, if I were to write a melody, it's going to sound a little too 80s, 90s. And so that's why younger kids write top lines generally, because they're going to have the current idiosyncrasies of a pop melody that they're going to be able to pull in that I can't do. So I give them something inspirational to write to. I mean, I think Justin's written to probably 50 or 40 of my hooks. And I've probably heard half of those. Sometimes he'll just bring me in the studio and then play them for me. And it's like, but I don't get copies. I don't have my phone running. I do not want to get in trouble. In fact, they even have, back in the day, they would even have signs, no tweet zone, no tweeting from the studio kind of thing. But Louis, one of the things I did do is I would sometimes hold back a hook. And especially now, I don't write with anyone who's not an artist or signed a major deal. Because I've given up too many hooks to people that went nowhere with them and wrote a really bad song on top of my hooks. And I just don't, I'm really, really careful about it now. And that's what Yellow Raincoat was. That was a hook that I'd been sitting on for a year. Right? And by the time I played it for Justin, it was just me and Justin and the engineer in the studio. And I was playing, I knew what I was doing. I was playing to the microphone. I knew he could hear me, and I started playing that. And he's like, "Hey, Tom, what's that?" And I heard the engineer say, he goes, "Oh, that's one of Straley's dope jams." And then, because I got my headphones on, and hey, Justin's like, "Hey, can I write to that?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm joking, And Justin's like, "Really?" And I'm like, no, write to it, please. And so we wrote that song that day. I mean, I recorded the take of Yellow Raincoat, and then the bridge is was it? Not the bridge. Let's see. There it is. I love that hook. There it is. Then, so I am kind of writing melody in a way, Lewis, on the top line there. It's funny because people thought when it came out, people thought it was Drake. They go, "That's not Justin," because he was really chill when he was singing. He was sitting down. Normally you would stand to sing, but he was sitting down, and that made it a little bit more of an intimate kind of vocal thing. But the and actually the reason it was capoed first fret was because that we had just done one of the songs. We had just done a song for the Believe acoustic, and I was capoed at first fret. So that's when I started playing it. And so at that point, it was too late. It was too late to change. And it was fine. And so the recording you hear is that I literally minutes after Justin said he liked it, we started tracking it. And that was one take, the first original pass, and that was it. And I went into the booth, and Justin spent the next few hours writing the words, melodies, harmonies, all that stuff, all recorded in the same day. Scooter Braun came in and said, "Hey, he loved it." And he was on Apple because they were getting ready to release that record like in a less than a month. And he was on the phone with Apple Records saying, "Hey, we're going to add a couple songs to the record. We're going to raise the price from $7.99 to $9.99. I was like, this is crazy. It was very surreal. But he was literally right there making it happen. People that can make it happen, And then and Scooter said, "Hey, can you do some licks on top, like Eric Clapton licks?" So I did some licks on top of it, and we recorded those after Justin went to go to see the Clippers game. And it's really funny because Justin, so we're in the studio, we're mixing it, we're kind of doing everything. I'm doing some licks, and I'm got the Clippers game on, and I can see Justin had a hat on, and I can see that hat in the front in the courtside seat at the Clippers game on the TV, who literally was in the studio with me 2 hours before that, and 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 he's got Chris Paul's son on his lap. So it was like the most surreal day. I swear to God, I'll never ever forget it. It was an awesome day, and it was so fun. And Justin's been great, and I was very, they were very generous with me, and I'm glad to be part of the team still, and they still come to me and ask for hooks, and so hopefully, like I said, hopefully I got one on the new record. At this point, supposedly I do, but let's not broadcast that. I'm not going to tell you the name or who else wrote on it, or maybe I did already. I probably did already. But so we'll keep it on a DL. No, the kids have all met Justin. Jack, my second son, I remember Justin cracks Jack up, and Jack had just had his heart broken by a girl, and he was really bummed. And the engineer loves my kids, and he said, "Let Jack come. Hey, bring Jack with you." And so Jack came in, and he's just sitting on the sofa. We're at the record plant, and I was actually in the studio to write a song with Justin for a girl named Pia Mia, Princess Pia Mia, I think. And we wrote like 3 songs that day, or started 3 songs. I don't know that we ever finished them. She actually was really smart and talented. I was really blown away by her. And Justin wrote this pretty cool song to this thing, but I don't think anything ever happened to it. Happy New Year, Tracy. So we're in the studio, and this is back when he was dating Selena, and Jack's just sitting on the sofa, and Selena comes in and with her dancer, and sits on the sofa with a dancer from her, like her choreographer from her show, a girl named Asia. And the two of them sit down next to Jack on the sofa. My kids are good looking kids. And Selena leans over to Jack and she goes, "You look like a young Ryan Gosling." It was like, oh my gosh. It was like the best thing for this broken-hearted boy. And he's making, and I'm listening to him, and they're talking, and I'm like, I'm working. And so I see, and I'm like, Jack, I lean over at one point, I said, "Do not hit on my boss's girlfriend." But Jack's talking to, Selena. I think Selena's trying to maybe connect Jack and her dancer with him. And Selena's super, super sweet. And everybody's really nice. And afterwards I asked Jack, what were you talking about? And he goes, "Oh, I said, what's the hardest part of your job? Is it singing and dancing at the same time?" I'm just like, this is hilarious. It's like it is such a weird job to be a pop star and then have something. What's the hardest part of your job? So he didn't know. He goes, "I didn't know what to talk to her about." That Jack is the one that's an engineer at NASA for JPL. He's like doing Mars stuff. Like, I'm kidding you not. He's actually working on the Mars rover thing. So he's designing stuff, but that is just funny. But Justin did this thing at one point where, like, I don't know, we're taking a break and, having some food ordered and stuff. And we're playing this game where Justin's throwing his phone to people, and whoever catches it, whoever he throws it to has to dance because they're playing music. And I'm like the worst dancer. And I'm like, what, 30 years older than everyone else in that room. And they keep throwing the phone to me because I'm the worst dancer, and it just made everybody laugh. And Jack was dying. He's just sitting there just dying so hard. And Justin keeps throwing me his phone, and I'm like, I get the phone and I got to dance, and I'm moving around, and I'm like, oh. So, but everyone was having a good time. So it was just really a lot of fun. And afterwards I told Selena, "Thank you so much for talking to my son. He really, really helped him a lot." And she just was so glad, to meet him and everything. So it's pretty fun. I mean, it's pretty fun to be around. I'm sorry for name dropping. It's one of the things that I think is real important when you're working around people like that is to just be normal as much as you can and be yourself. And they are surrounded by posers and fakers and liars and users. And, I never bug these people. I never call them. If they call me, then I answer. But other than that, I'm not And Justin, the first thing he wants to do when he sees me is pray. I mean, he'll grab me and put our heads on each other's shoulders, and we'll pray for each other. And I'm honored to be thought of in that way as someone that he can confide in and ask for prayer. That's a big honor. I pray for him every day. So he says he prays for me every day. I don't know. I hope so. But anyway, so yeah, there's some great stories. I to be honest, I tried to give up 5 times. My wife wouldn't let me give up this job. And at the time, when you're making almost all your income from teaching lessons, I could live anywhere. Well, I live in the most expensive state in the country, and just to teach guitar lessons. And but something told me when I was 15 that I would be doing what I'm doing now. I just didn't think it would take this long. It's really, when people say, "Hey, I want to do what you do," I say, "Are you willing to wait 30 years for it?" Because that's literally from the point I moved here to the point where it took off was almost 30 years. And I can't imagine 30 years in most careers. A policeman retires in 30 years. And I just bought my first house. Retirement's the furthest thing from my mind, but my job is one that fortunately I feel like I can do until I can't do it anymore. And I'm hoping that's, in my 70s or 80s, because I love doing what I do. So, yeah, I try to be real. That's exactly right. I try to be real with you guys. I 3 hours of reality TV right here. Oh my gosh, I can't believe some of you have been here with me the whole time. It's like, Gary, I can't believe you're still. Oh, you got it. You left. Okay. Gary's been here since day one. Should I post this video? I guess I could leave it up there, but who's going to watch this? You're going to be like, where does he? They're going to be like scrolling, looking for me when I pick up my guitar. I should just sit here with my guitar and talk and not play anything, or pretend like I'm playing and keep talking. They'll be like scrolling to this moment right here where I'm actually doing nothing but making fun of them scrolling to this moment. So yeah, I think one of the things that makes me a usable musician, though, is my creativity, and that's what I've benefited the most from. Yeah, Kermit. Acting is. Oh gosh, here's the funny thing. More stories. Okay, name dropping. Okay, get ready. More name dropping. Right, here we go. Sorry. Oh, I'm so bad. So my dad has to get surgery. This is years ago. My dad's been gone for since 2011, which is why I do this, is largely because of my dad. If you watch my channel, trailer, you'll see. That's funny. Gary, I can't believe you're still here. This is hilarious. But I'm trying to entertain. Jazz hands. But I went to help my dad. I flew through Atlanta to Alabama to pick him up at the hospital and take him after he had some surgery at the VA, to take him back to his apartment, which was like a 3-hour drive. And because he couldn't drive. And so I flew there, and I took a guitar with me for the trip, and hung out with him for a few days, make sure he was okay. And then I'm flying back through Atlanta, and I got a 3-hour layover. And this guy comes up to me, and he's got like a baseball cap on. He hasn't shaved, back when not shaving was not cool. Kind of scruffy jeans and everything. And we start talking. He says, and I'm playing in fact, I had this guitar with me. It's funny. I remember I specifically brought the G&L for some reason. So I'm playing the G&L, and he goes, I have, we start talking about guitar and different things. And I said, "Oh, where do you live?" And he goes, "Oh, I live in LA." Oh, I said, "Really? Where are you from?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm from Hollywood." I said, "Well, that's weird. You've got a Southern accent." Oh, he goes, "Oh, I've been in South Carolina for the last few months." And I go, "Oh, really? What do you do?" And I'm thinking construction work. He goes, "Oh, I'm an actor." And I'm like, "Oh, really? You're an actor? Have you been in anything I'd know?" And he goes, "No, not really." And so we kept talking about guitars. He played guitar, and he goes, And then at one point he tells me like a director that he worked for gave him a Paul Reed Smith. And I'm like going, well, gee, well, he must act in something where they make money because the director's giving him a Paul Reed Smith. And we keep talking about it. And it's like, I don't, so I'm like sitting there talking to, and I'm like, I'm not, I'm like, I'm really bad with faces. If my wife became a brunette, I wouldn't recognize her. And so we have a great conversation. We talk about kids. I don't think he had any kids, but we talked about kids. I talked about my church. He was just asking a lot of questions, and I was asking him about stuff, and we're talking, mostly about guitars and writing and producing or whatever. And then I get on the plane. Oh no, I know what happens. He says, is there food on this flight? And I said, well, it's a red eye. I said, probably not. And he goes, even in first class. And I go, I said, I probably in first class you'll have food. Now I'm like going, okay, well, maybe he is somebody, but people bump up to first class all the time. Well, so he walks over to McDonald's to go get some food. And I walk up to the counter and I say, is there going to be food in first class? And they said, oh yeah. And so I walk back over to McDonald's. I get him out of the line. I said, you're going to have food. They said, you're going to have food. And he goes, oh, thanks. So and we keep talking, gets on the plane, of course, long before I ever get on the plane. And I get on the plane. I sit down next to this couple and husband and wife. And the husband says to me, he goes, do you know who you've been talking to for the last 2 hours? And I said, no, who? And he goes, that was Giovanni Ribisi. And I said, I don't know who that is. He goes, did you see Saving Private Ryan? And I said, yeah. He goes, that was the medic. I said, oh, wait, I do know who that is. And he goes, you know Friends, right? That's Phoebe's brother. So that's Phoebe's brother from Friends. I was talking to Giovanni Ribisi for like 2 hours at the airport. And I'm sure he loved the fact, yeah, right. I'm sure he loved the fact that I didn't know who he was. And we're just having this like normal human conversation, which, to be honest, I probably would have had anyway with him. But then I got to thinking about the conversation and I went, oh no. And what the guy goes, what? I said, well, I told him, I said, don't give up on the acting thing. I told him, my days of being in the next Nirvana are long behind me. But you can get your first big role when you're 45 on CSI or 55 on CSI or whatever, and have a career, that you're actually working. And I didn't realize he'd made more in the last month than I made my entire career. So I was like feeling, and then the couple sitting next to me, the lady points at her husband and she goes, do you know who he is? And I went, oh no, who are you? He was some ESPN talking head, and I didn't have cable at the time, so I wouldn't have known him. And I don't even remember who it was at this point. But had I had cable, I probably would have seen him 1,000 times and still not recognize him. It's like, oh, it's awful, horrible faces. But it was funny because I totally lectured Giovanni Ribisi about not giving up, and that's kind of what I was going to say. Who was it that said to be an actor? Somebody up here, is it Kermit? Yeah, Kermit. You're an actor or want to be an actor, and yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you can do later in life. You don't have, it's not necessarily. I think with acting, if I was an actor, and I've worked with several actors as coach, I coach actors to pretend to play guitar. Every one of the actors I've coached with, except maybe one or two, they've all gotten good enough with my teaching, and I'm not taking credit for it, but they've gotten good enough where they could actually play in the scene rather than use a track, which is actually a lot better sometimes if they're actually playing than rather than syncing to a track. And finger syncing, as we talked about, lip syncing on guitar is finger syncing. But it's not because of my teaching. I mean, my teaching is good because when I teach work with an actor, I get the music that they're going to be working on, the specific song, and I break it down into simple parts, and I say, okay, here's how you start this, and if you can get to this, then move to this, and so you can look like you can play it, or so that you can play it. Well, every one of the actors I've ever worked with, because if these are actors that are hiring me, they're already successful. They're already doing on a movie or a TV show or whatever. They worked so hard and got it down. Like they practiced that good. They got the guitar, they took it home, they, whatever, so that they could actually do that scene. And if I was an actor, I'll tell you, when I'm not working, I would be learning how to ride horses. I would be learning fencing. I would be learning how to play drums. I would be learning how to whatever, because I feel like if you can kind of fake it, to a degree, you can fool 99% of the people that you're a good horseback rider when you're really not. Horseback riders would know that you're not a good rider, but most people would go, oh yeah, he rides horses. So I think that that's one of the things that as an actor, if you're going to be an actor, I would definitely make sure that you're maximizing and learning as many skill sets. Right? Oh, you think Giovanni Ribisi follows me on social? I doubt it. And I didn't realize he was a Scientologist at the time either. He wasn't. He didn't try to evangelize me. I wasn't trying to evangelize him, but I was telling him about my church, and in my church has a lot of people in Hollywood that go there, not actors so much, but people behind the scenes, grips and electricians, and I mean all the people that work on the video and department and stuff like that were in Hollywood as a career, and now they're working at the church. But yeah, I definitely told him about my church, but it's pretty funny that. So yeah, and perseverance is definitely, definitely has been my successful thing. Now I think it also one trip. See, with guitar, like I said, one of the things that really helps is I try to have a voice when I'm on the pop stuff. On TV and music, or TV and film, you almost want to be invisible. You want to play the part really well and do what the composer wants you to do. But with working on pop records or writing on records, I find that it's almost more important to have some kind of style. And I think with an actor too, you could be an actor that could do a lot of different roles, or you kind of have this bland, blank slate that the director can work with, or you could be this character from the get-go. And I think sometimes, some of the actors that are the best are the ones that are they just have, they're just something about them that they are just that person all the time anyway. I don't know. It's tough. I think you assume that an actor, but some actors just keep playing the same person every time. I think of Frasier. He literally played the same person every time. And I heard that they're bringing it back. But Kelsey Grammer probably is very similar to the Frasier. And so anyway, oh my gosh, 3 hours. Did I really clearly I've got nothing better to do. And same with you guys. Shame on you. Oh my gosh. Keep throwing the darts. Sooner or later, you will hit a bullseye. That's true. It's true. We talk about the shotgun method. You get enough songs out there, enough demos out there, somebody eventually is going to go, oh, I like that, and so I definitely think that there's something to that. But you also have to guard your brand. I did a video on that. You make sure that the stuff that is associated with you is as quality as it can be, because there's stuff that I did that I'm ashamed, not ashamed of, but I'm just not proud. It's not my best work. And there's sometimes where somebody's paying you practically nothing to play 5 records of their song, 5 songs on their record. And it's like, you got to get it done in a day. And you're just like, I got to get this done. We call it music by the pound. We're just chopping away at it and get it done. But, like I said, with the pop stuff that I try to do, I really try to spend time to get it to the point where it's so natural that when I finally hit record, that it just sounds like something that I've been playing my whole life. And that's saying something. So. Okay, good. So everybody's been doing something while they're watching me. Kermit, stick with it, man. You said something about just getting out of college. So where was that? when we were talking about Uber, you said something about doing an Uber drive. But yeah, it's yeah, Don't Go Far. That's the song that, yeah, that's me. Don't Go Far is me. Um, yeah, after college. So you're okay. Which what's your degree to fall back on? You're in Florida right now. Okay, well at least you'll be used to the weather somewhat. It's a lot drier here. You'll like that, trust me. I used to spend spring breaks in Florida with my grandparents. Oh, studying finance. Okay, good. All right. I actually finance is a great degree. Finance over business is a tougher degree. Business, right? You're talking finance. Um, Here's the thing, though. Yes, fall back on something. However, I intentionally gave myself nothing to fall back on. So it was either succeed as a musician or starve. Um, but I'll tell you one thing: that I compare and contrast actors and musicians all the time, because acting is pretty much there are no gigs that like there. You're either working or you're not working with acting. I mean, you might be doing some theater thing that's not paid or whatever. But with musicians, I mean, at the very least, I can teach private lessons. And when I stopped teaching private lessons, I was charging, I think, $60 an hour. And when I coach, I charge, depending on if they come here or I go there, it's anywhere from 100 to 200 an hour for coaching. And so that I do that very rarely. But that's it's just it takes time out of my day to do it, and especially if I have to go to the studio if I have to go to the movie set or whatever to teach. Sometimes it's way out of my way, and then I charge even more. But music is a little bit easier. I mean, I did a video again in my series that I've talked about, the business of making music, that I'm going to add to. I should do another one. My next one was going to be IMDb, a video about IMDb. But the I think, I counted something like 37 or 47 different jobs that I've done in music. Everything from working in a music store to working at a record store to teaching lessons to teaching clinics to teaching at a college, to teaching to playing on demos to playing on records to playing on movie shows, TV, blah blah blah. There's a million ways as a musician to make a living, but in acting, it's really really tough. It's like it's really really tough to you don't just get that first role unless you're super lucky early on in your career. And so I'll tell you the things it came up earlier too, and I've always said this: it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And that's it's like you can know it. I know people that know everybody in town, but unless you're the person that they think of when they think, oh, I need an actor for this or I need a guitar player for this, there's really no it's not going to turn into any work, just knowing people. So, oh, good. TA's been busy. I'm glad. That's awesome. I'm so glad. It's so funny. I literally could probably talk to you all for 8 hours and not stop. My wife is thanking you guys right now because I'm not talking to her. No, that's not true. I know that's not true. Yep, and my day gigs have always been my wife working. We were actually really fortunate. My wife, we managed an apartment building for 25 years. So my wife stayed home after our third child was born, and she homeschooled the kids. And because our Pasadena school district was awful. My wife was a teacher in the Pasadena, and she knew. And so we weren't going to. So we just decided to make the kids a priority, and we were going to live on whatever I made. And fortunately, between having free rent in Pasadena and what I made was enough for us to live on. So, but yeah, TA has been very productive. Yeah, I've got, yeah, yeah, look, hey, I'm 58 years old. I've got a lot of failure here to learn from. And I would love for you all to learn from my failures. And as far as being making a guitar a career, composing, I think, is a really tough career. I don't really encourage anyone to necessarily go into guitar as a career, but or music as a career necessarily. And like I said, with a band perspective, that's a totally different kind of thing. If you want to be a famous band, that's a different, that's even, oh man, that's really tough. But you being a career musician, there's a million ways to make a living in any town. You don't have to come to LA to make a living. There are musicians and guitar players making decent livings in every city in America, every major city in America, just because there's gigs everywhere. Because you can work remotely. There's a website. My son does sessions on it called soundbetter.com. So you can do remote sessions if you have this ability to record yourself, and you can do as little as $50 a song. I think my son right now is charging $50 a song per track. So if he does acoustic and electric, it's like $100 a song or something. I thought about going on there, but my rates would be kind of high, and the expectations, I think it would be hard to keep a 5-star rating if I'm charging what I should charge for what I do. But I may do it at some point. If we do leave Los Angeles, I may do it then. But I'm not sure what I would charge, to be honest. So yeah, Bob, it's so awesome. Keep hitting those drums. I worked with Keith Carlock a few months ago, and that was fun. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's been the drummer for Steely Dan for like 20 years now. He is such a beast. I saw Steely Dan live a while ago, and he just nailed the solo from Asia. That was Steve Gadd. So good. So anyway, also don't hesitate to share my videos on forums and things like that, and get it out there more. I'm at 63,000 subscribers, which is crazy. I'm going to NAMM. I'm going to be meeting with some manufacturers. I don't have any paid endorsements. I endorse Taylor Martin, which is funny because I don't know of anybody else who endorses two different, Taylor and Martin. But I'm probably not on their websites or anything like that. But I do. In past, I've gotten deals with them. I'm supposed to have a meeting with Fender at NAMM, so I am going to talk to him about maybe some like a cheap, like entry level Fender guitars, because I feel like that more attuned to my audience, or anything that they're releasing that's weird. I did the Bass 6 review. It's one of my most widely watched reviews. So yeah, Kermit, great time. See you in Los Angeles when you get here. Okay. All right. Well, I am also going to sign off. Thank you for sticking around. I have a hard time saying goodbye on the phone, and this is the same thing. That's why no one calls me. So, all right. God bless you guys. I may post this later, but we're gonna end this, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, not just on holidays.